4 guys with a sling and a rock would do better than a quad half the time, I feel like.
They're sending a boomerang after her.
The economical thing is 4 boomerang warriors from the coast of Australasia. Welcome back to Seeker and Confessor, a Sword of Truth podcast. I'm your host, Frank.
And I'm Lauren.
And today we're covering chapter 34 of Wizard's First Rule.
And today, there's something else happening. Something really special.
What else is going on today?
It's our podcast birthday!
Yay!
Yay! All right.
Happy 1-year birthday.
It feels really unsatisfying without the sound.
Yeah, I agree. I thought these were whistlers, but...
You have to pay extra for that?
It didn't say. I would have gone for it.
Well, it's been 1 year. The first episode was uploaded on June 20th, 2023.
Yep.
When this one goes up, I think it's going to be June 18th. So, close enough.
1 year.
I can't believe we've been doing this for 1 year.
And we're not even done with book 1.
That's our fault. Early on, we were doing 2 chapters per episode. And that seemed to be just how it was going to go. Mm-hmm. And I kind of thought it would be primarily that here and there. We'd get one big chapter that we needed to devote to one. But it has ended up being that most chapters later have needed the whole episode.
Especially today.
This is going to be long. Yeah. I guess it's, the birthday special. Chapter 34. Probably the most notes I've taken.
Yeah, this is a meaty one.
Because it's just a big lore dump. A big dumperoo. Just a big dump.
We got a big steamy dump today.
Correct.
For our 1 year. Yeah.
For our 1 year anniversary.
Great.
The Seeker and Confessor birthday party.
That's it.
On the Seeker and Confessor birthday, today's all about Mother Confessor.
Yes, it is.
Today's all about mothering.
It's giving mother?
It's all about mothering, slaying, confessing, telling the truth, killing your baby. It's about all of those things.
Unfortunately, it's about all of those things, especially that last thing.
Before we start, you guys didn't even know, but for our birthday, we got 3 fan mails. That's how we feel about the fan mail, especially about getting
so excited.
Okay, thank you so much. You guys are so nice. I think I made everyone feel bad last episode.
Yeah, she literally begged, and y'all came through for it. So
but thank you so much.
Much love.
Now you're
one.
Reinforcing that I should just say how sad I am when I want things.
That usually works.
So we're gonna go through them.
Okay.
Okay. First fan mail. John
Count 'em,
says,
John.
"Hi, great show. Really good reminiscing. I'm a farmer in New Zealand, and I listen to you guys while I milk my cows. And do my farm jobs. Keep up the good work. Cracks me up heaps. Ha ha ha. Cheers, John."
John,
what the hell?
John, I love you, first off, for being just a cool dairy farmer in the world, much less New Zealand.
Yeah.
You have a picturesque life, I bet. For all I know about New Zealand is the Lord of the Rings movies.
Well.
So everywhere in New Zealand is beautiful at all times and looks like a fantasy dream. And you're listening to us there.
I know that tons of people in New Zealand were extras in Lord of the Rings. John, were you? Do you know somebody who was? I want to know.
Huh.
But I just like the idea. I like picturing John milking the cows and listening to us. That's really exciting.
It's the most idyllic thing I could ever have hoped for.
Yeah,
actually.
no, for sure. Honored that we are involved in the day-to-day workings of the farm.
This is what's weird about the internet. That's so cool to me.
I was really excited when I got that
almost
one.
The furthest across the world you could be, just
pretty
casually listening to us in a totally different way of life and everything. Awesome.
I like cows.
And she likes cows.
I like cows.
Count 'em, boys. She likes cows.
I think when I first got that one and read it to Frank, he said, "Can you ask him if we can stay with him?"
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever make it to New Zealand, but if we do, John,
can we stay on your farm?
let us crash on the farm, please.
We'll sleep in the barn. Mm-hmm. Fan mail number 2.
Yep.
Hey, yo.
Oh.
Mr. Svenny here.
Mr.
He's coming
Svenny.
through. Came from TikTok.
Thank you.
Came through on the fan mail now. Who, if for a reminder, Mr. Svenny was our big booby researcher.
Yes, the
thank
scholar
you
of breasts. Yes.
Just wanted to say thanks for the shout again. And this has easily become my favorite podcast series to listen to. Thank you.
What?
That's so nice.
Crazy.
Loving the podcast so far, even though I find it hard not to drop comments with spoilers in them. Valid.
Okay. It's all right.
That is
and you're not alone. So
regardless, hope you guys keep going after book 1. I think we are going to. And if you guys ever need someone to search through the seemingly endless supply of the late Mr. Goodkind's work, I'll gladly offer myself as tribute. Thank you so much.
we're going to need your help.
We definitely are going to actually need this at certain points, I'm sure.
100%.
Because this is slow going here, and we're going to be curious about things. I really appreciate that you try not to spoil things for us. That's wonderful. And you haven't, as far as I'm aware. I have no memory.
If you did, I don't remember.
Of you doing that, so thank you.
Keep up the good work, not doing that.
No, but that is hard. It's hard to chat about it when
you're
you
right,
know
you're right.
everything,
That's true.
And we don't.
Yes.
Okay, 3rd fan mail. Hello, big fan of the podcast and your breakdown of what had been one of my favorite book series when I was younger. Same.
Yes.
Us too.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so much that I introduced a good friend of mine to the series, Mr. Svenny. Mr. Svenny's friend.
What? The friend of Svenny.
You guys are the best.
The Svenny clan coming through.
For real. He and I agree on one of my hot takes about the book series, in that it gets much better if you imagine it like an over-the-top old anime. It explains the jankiness of certain parts, and my headcanon is that Terry did it accidentally. Probably. Keep up the wonderful work. Y'all are hilarious. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Svenny,
everybody.
Friend of Svenny,
But yeah,
John.
seriously.
So much. Thank you.
That's so nice that you guys are both listening, and I love that you introduced him. Frank introduced me, and we were younger as well, and we really liked it too, so relatable. But yeah, the anime thing makes sense. I think we said that every time we picture it, we're just picturing animation.
It would do well as
it
an
would
anime.
be cool as an anime, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think that would be the main way you could pull it off.
You know what? When you think about it, like all of the monologues in Richard's head, and like when you're reading them, you're like, all right, this is kind of. But if you like think about like Death Note, and you're like how like Light and L have those like inner monologues, and you're like you don't hate them in an anime format.
It's true.
Maybe it would work. I want to see it.
The things we enjoy about it
Yeah.
are in this vein, right?
Yeah, the cinematicness of it.
A lot of what's fun about it is what's fun about, like, weird old anime. It's got that vibe for sure.
I agree.
I see the vision. So thank you guys so much for sending those. That really excites me through the week when I get my little
It's the best. Keep them coming.
Thank you. That was lovely. And it was really it was such a good present for our birthday.
You didn't even know.
You guys didn't know, but
Thank
you felt it in the air.
It was
the
there.
energy was there.
Shall we get going? Because I know this one's gonna.
It's gonna take forever.
This is gonna be a marathon, ladies and gentlemen.
That we're drinking liquid IV. That's how serious we feel like this is about to be.
Yeah.
Chapter 34, Richard and Kahlan chapter. Okay, so we'll do.
whole
I've
time.
been enjoying before we get into it. Did you enjoy this chapter?
I did and I didn't.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot more the first time I read it.
Which is not the book's fault.
No. Going back through it, like to write notes and to think deeply on it, it's like, boring and just.
Well, it's hard to say boring because there's a lot of there's actually tons of information that I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
So in that sense, that's not boring.
No, I don't know if it's like the more you think deeply about each point, you're kind of like, well, wait a minute. You have lots of questions.
You definitely do. Well, wait a minute.
And it just doesn't. It doesn't probe for deepness very well. Maybe it will later. Maybe the information will later.
He's setting us up with a lot of info.
A lot. Yeah.
I'm really struggling to deal with it as a reread because it's like, granted, a lot of this I didn't remember like functionally, like the lore of it.
No.
But like just in general, like what the Confessor power is, why Kahlan was so distant with, like, we knew all of that, so
Yeah,
there wasn't that exciting, like, oh, finally, it kind of makes sense. That didn't happen for us.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And to be fair, that's not a story's fault to have that seem kind of boring on analysis. That's, of course, that's gonna...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that, you know, is hard. I did think it had a little too much of this, like, FAQ feeling to it. It literally just felt like you were on a website about confessors.
Actually, 100%.
Right, you click on the FAQ and then you keep, like, opening the menu for each question. It is because as I was writing the notes, it really became apparent to me, because I would just write Richard's question and then Kahlan's answer, and then the next thing I'd write would be like a question by Richard, an answer by Kahlan. I mean, that's
the entire chapter. Once she starts going, it's just paragraph explanation. Well, what about paragraph explanation?
But
wait, so
to be fair,
yeah,
I think a lot of times we are kind of like, why would you not ask? Wouldn't you be curious about this and this and this once this information gets dropped in your lap? And I suppose this is a satisfactory like inquiry into it, right? Like,
sure.
If you're Richard, you are going to have this many questions.
Absolutely. And another book with other characters, they would have only answered like one or two of these and then gotten interrupted, and you'd be like, whoa, what about the other questions I have?
I suppose the question, though, is... Right. So, yeah, it annoys me, I guess, when they don't get interrupted and the questions still don't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know that I mind so much if they're getting interrupted, so that way you can't blame the character for not asking, but it also draws out the suspense.
Yeah.
Because there is something very tiresome about this amount of information all at once. Like, your brain is a little fatigued and like, huh? Okay, sure. So, I don't know if I can say I liked it. I don't know if I can say I didn't like it.
Yeah, it just seemed necessary.
Yeah.
Like, this was a long time coming, and it was done as Terry would probably do it. So there's not really,
there's no surprises here.
No, it's not like, oh, wow, he really thought of a clever way to do... No, he did it exactly how Terry's been doing his stuff. And this chapter had to happen at some point. So here we are.
Right.
It could have been breadcrumbs better. It could have been whatever. But we got our info. We know what a confessor is now.
Absolutely, we do.
And we know a lot more.
We know a lot of stuff. So we're going to go through all of the stuff that we learned about Kahlan, confessors, wizards, the Midland, ancient history,
the
politics,
dark times.
That too. So let's go.
Plagiarism, lots of things.
Yeah. So, okay. We left off after the huge fight. Kahlan and her depression. I'm going to unalive myself.
Yep.
Richard being like, you're a selfish loser. Get out of my face.
He did say it.
She left. So Richard's like sleeping all like...
Yeah, bent over like, and weepily.
Yeah, he's like all curled up weird and sleeping.
And he hears a strange sound,
right? Yeah, he's
right?
hearing a sound. He's interrupted, and he's going to reach for the sword.
Too far. Going to reach for the knife.
Right.
He sneaks a glance. Because now you're in your head, you're like, oh, that thing that's not Samuel's stalking him. Maybe it's that.
Right.
Yeah. It's not.
It's Kahlan.
She's back.
She's cooking. She's sitting there cooking.
Yep.
And he says, what are you doing here? And she says, is it all right if we talk? Okay. Well...
No, the book ends.
Well, to be fair, he was pissed off at her. Yeah. So, like, he might have been like, no, get out of here. We left off with him and be like, get out of here. Get out of here. I don't want to see you anymore.
She scurries off into the wilderness like a squirrel.
So, Kahlan's like, I've been doing some thinking since I left. And she goes on
6 hours ago.
Yeah, she goes on to explain that, like, as she was leaving, she was like, oh, I knew you had a headache. And he's like, how? And she's like, I can see it in your eyes. I always know when you have a headache. Cool. You know, soulmate stuff.
Yeah.
And so she was like, since you had the headache, I didn't want to leave you alone. So I decided to, like, take watch in the trees over here without you knowing, just to make sure you're okay. And then... she was like, well, while I'm waiting here, I might as well make a snare and catch him some food. And then she was like, well, while I'm waiting here, I might as well think of all the things I should tell him before I go so he accomplishes the goal.
And quickly she realizes she was wrong.
Yeah, like, this was dumb. Which we all agree.
It was dumb.
We all agree.
Yeah, I just like the part of her being like, I was right over there. And he's like, you were right over there the whole time? He's like, yeah, right over there. And I caught a rabbit.
He missed all that.
It's like, I don't, your woods guy, how far away do you think she was that he was like totally oblivious to her presence?
So yeah, she's basically like, you were totally right. I was being stupid. I couldn't stand it that you thought those things about me. It hurt that you thought of me like that, and it made me angry too. Which, yeah, it would.
Yeah.
He said very nasty things about her.
He did. Yeah, he was over the top, but I mean, it was a pretty extreme scenario, and he had a headache, to be fair.
Right, we didn't know that in the moment.
Oh no.
Then we go right into Richard's surprised by her next question, which is, do you think Shota is pretty?
And that she had giant knockers?
It didn't say that.
Oh, I have it in quotes here. Really? Are you sure? Should we? All right.
Do you think Shota's pretty and has huge boobs?
And he said, of course, anyone could see that with eyes. She asks Richard,
do you think Shota's pretty?
Do you think she's pretty?
And then he says,
Yes. But not as pretty as you.
Oh. Wow. How do we feel about this? It feels weird in the context of, like, the intensity of what they were
just previously dealing with. Yeah.
Of, like, the question of, like, are you, like, a piece of shit who won't take any ownership of things? I literally am going to go kill myself, etc., etc. It's just, like, is this really top of mind right now? But I guess it kind of is. It
feels weird. Well, she follows it up with a proverb that I've never heard. Have you ever heard this proverb? Richard also hasn't heard this proverb.
Yeah.
And it feels like this proverb was invented for this scenario.
I think it was.
Yeah, but like I've never read a proverb in a book and been like, you just made that up for this.
I mean, it could have other application. I have a little bit of an instinct to like when I read that, I feel at this point in my life, it's very like, I want to roll my eyes because it's like, oh my God, this is like so incredibly juvenile. I accept that is Kahlan's
just
mental
inner monologue
at this point.
Yeah.
Richard, though, definitely doesn't seem like weirded out by it. He's very like, this is where I'm at too. This seems like a reasonable thing to be concerned with. And I don't know, it's like not relatable to me as an adult.
Well, let's say the proverb so we can discuss it. Like,
sorry.
like
I just meant any of it, but
fair.
Well, fair. I meant like I feel like the question of do you think she's pretty, like, I think it has a meaning beyond the proverb.
Sure. Okay.
I think it is just like Kahlan being insecure. You don't think so?
It's like, it just weirdly, like, I might agree, but it's so weird to put her insecurities in this chapter with all the other things that we learn about her. Like, that just, she should be so beyond, she was ready to unalive herself moments ago. And then to worry yourself about this sort of thing, or to have this even in your framework and not be like boiled away by the enormity of what you were about to just do.
But I don't know.
Feels weird.
But when I don't know, because when I was 17 and I read this, this like totally was relatable.
Ah, interesting.
I feel like this was so relatable to me.
Well, then this once again suffers from the how old are people and at what stage in their life and maturity are they? I guess
it just depends where your head's at. I no longer find it relatable. And then I have to look at it like, okay, that's fine, because like not everything in a book has to be relatable to me personally at this stage of my life. It doesn't feel to me like we're exploring it intentionally enough, the fact that it is like an Arrested Development sort of thing. It doesn't feel like I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, not relatable, but what an intriguing dilemma to dive into, that she shouldn't be having feelings like this, but she is. It kind of reads for some reason to me like I'm supposed to just be like, that seems yeah, that's what women would feel.
Yes, because
I don't think
he
that's
frequently
always
is
true.
presenting these two as like a model of men and women.
Yeah.
Like what they should aspire to like hold and be. And it's like that.
But I guess
Yeah.
like clearly they're going to evolve.
Yes.
Right beyond this. I think.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Is that true?
I don't
Maybe
know.
not. I don't know.
I think they do. The proverb that Kahlan says is, never let a beautiful woman pick your path for you when there is a man in her line of sight.
Yeah, I don't know that I
Richard
like
never heard it. I never
this.
heard it.
The implication, I guess, is women are going to throw you under a but why? Okay, women will throw you under the bus if they want to get to a man. You should know that. And
Yeah,
then
why does it matter
only-
if she's beautiful?
That's what I'm saying. Why would it matter if she's beautiful? It would. Why would an ugly woman?
Well,
also,
that's why he asked if she's pretty.
If
'Cause,
anything, I would think maybe an ugly woman is more likely to do that because she really needs the man.
She needs the man. She wants that man
Shona
more.
doesn't need the man.
She could just get any man.
That's what I'm saying.
Probably.
I don't get it. What does that mean? So I see a pretty woman. I'm like, oh, I gotta assume she's pretty, so she's gonna care about men so much that she's going to fuck me
It
over.
almost seems like a beautiful woman is closer to evil.
It
like that-
almost feels.
It
that
almost
way.
feels that way. Like
But I don't know.
You're more likely to lead others astray if you're a pretty woman.
Well, by
and
that
you want a guy.
logic, we shouldn't trust Kahlan either.
She's clearly a beautiful woman.
She's a beautiful woman, and Richard's right there. So
Yeah.
nobody should be listening to her. Richard says he didn't think Kahlan needed to... I thought it was a weird wording. He didn't think Kahlan needed to worry about Shota stealing his heart. Like, well, I mean, does she or does she not? That's up to you. Shota had said she would kill him if she ever saw him again.
That feels like
Valid.
tongue-in-cheek Richard inner monologue. He doesn't think she needs to worry because...
Even without Shota's vow, Kahlan had no cause for worry. I mean, it kind of didn't seem that way in the moment, but...
Well, that's because he was bewitched.
Right, which we'll hear about later.
Oh, yeah.
And Kahlan's like, I was afraid the witch woman would kill me, and all of a sudden I realized she was going to succeed, only I was going to do it for her. Which is like exactly what Richard was saying in the moment.
Yep. So,
But she needed to have this little blowout to really understand it all.
I don't falter for that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
She says, I would like my job back as your guide. Richard has never been this happy or this relieved in his life, is what it says.
Yep.
He hugs her and then she pushes him away. And she says, if you want to take me back as your guide, you can, but only after I've told you all of the bad things about me.
She said, I have to spill my tea first
Right.
before I work again.
Yes.
Yeah, Richard tries to, like, play it off. He's like, I don't really care about that. He hands her, like, a slice of the rabbit. And one thing that I noticed that was interesting, so she takes it, and this is the third time in this chapter of, like, 2 pages. Terry describes Kahlan's fingertips.
What does it mean?
She was, like, whittling a stick with her
yeah.
fingertips. She took the rabbit in between her fingertips. And I thought that was weird because I was like, why is he focusing on that? And I think that's because that is the source of her power.
Right.
Touch.
Is it? Yeah, I guess so. But I'm like, it doesn't have to be fingertips, right? Like,
No, it doesn't.
Could
but
it be
I
her
think,
ass? Like, it could be anything.
I don't know. Has anyone ever confessed with their ass before?
She just, like...
Just booty bounced you into, like, the execution chamber?
I don't know. I kind of got the sense it's like, no, of course, because if it was just her fingertips, the sex and all that wouldn't be an issue.
And Rawl would probably just cut their hands off.
Very true. Everybody would do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, debunked. Not the fingertips. But, yeah, it's probably some sort of, like, touch-related imagery or something.
Do they even need to touch skin? I guess not, because he would just wear armor over everything, and then he'd be fine.
They come in, like, in a beekeeper suit.
It's like Scuba Steve coming through with a knife. Like, oh, no!
Yeah, so Richard's like, I just got her back. I'm so relieved that I have a companion on this journey again. Like, I definitely don't even want to know, because, like, let's just get through it. I kind of don't blame him. That
No,
makes sense
I
to
don't
me.
blame him, but I think also this is Richard's young avoidant type thing. He keeps saying, you don't have to tell me. It's okay. I'll love you no matter what. It's like, maybe that's
But that's
just...
to the test, boy.
Yeah, put it to the... You literally will have to. So, like,
Yeah.
right now she's saying, we've been doing something silly here. I
Yeah.
know I have this thing. I've been hiding it from you, but you've been also, like, letting me hide it. And I'm not... I can't keep
guess
going
you're right.
without giving.
Yeah, he hasn't ever, like, really put her...
No, every time she's like, I need to tell you before we do X, Y, or Z.
Has she said that before?
What? No, Richard actually has said that. We can never have sex until you tell me.
Right. I don't think she's ever offered.
Just such a weird thing for Terry to put in.
Why?
He doesn't care until he's going to have sex with her, but having sex with her is the thing that he would need to know that for... It's a very Terry thing, actually.
I think it makes sense, though, because it's like in both directions, the point of it is that the sexual connection is so intimate that her power, it has a big impact on that, and then him... he has to know her fully. Yes, exactly, to get that level of intimacy. That makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
I get it. Kahlan makes this little point about, like, oh, remember when Shota pretended to be your mom? And then Richard's like, yeah. And she's like, you didn't like that, right? He's like, I did not. And then she says, well, the same way that was bad because it was fake. Like, it kind of makes sense. The same way that you, even though you liked seeing your mom, in the end, you were like, I need to know that's not actually her. That is bad for me to just keep living in that delusion.
I get it. I hate it.
I can't also have our relationship with... No, it kind of... I feel like that makes sense.
I knew you were going to defend it, and I get it. I was writing my note, and I was like, she's not going to let me have this, but it is stupid. It is not the same thing.
No one's saying it's the same thing.
But of course, like, yeah, Richard didn't like that because that's his dead mom you're pretending to be. Kahlan's not pretending to be someone. She's just saying, just saying, this is all I can show you. They're not the same thing.
Because she's recognizing that, like, it's kind of exactly the thing here where Richard he's like, no. I want to keep being in love with this version of you I've made up in my head where you're like perfect girl. Mm-hmm. But it's literally not real. And Kahlan's like, I don't fucking care that you want to be in love with this fake version of me. You're not allowed.
I understand that. But to reduce... It's not the same as, like, the illusion of your dead mother.
It's the same as, like, the wish fulfillment of being like... oh, this beautiful, good, alive version of my mom is here. And I can kind of just live in this deluded relationship with her that is just not real. It's not a thing that exists.
I understand that. No, I get that. But she wasn't like, you know how you felt for that? That's how you're going to feel for me. It was more of like you were mad at Shota for doing that, right? Well, now you're mad at me for doing that. It's like, you didn't do the same thing. You just were... like, you did actually very different things that are having a similar feeling within you.
I don't know that she's saying that. Like, I feel like she was trying to be like, the same way it would be bad for you.
To what, live your entire life pretending Shota was your dead mom? Yeah, that would be bad, yeah. But it's like, okay, yeah, no, he wasn't doing that. He, like, within 5 minutes was like, my mom's dead. So
the
you're not her.
Same way there was a temptation to not... figure that out in that moment.
Yeah.
He had a temptation to be like, maybe I don't want to realize that. Right?
Sure. No, I get that. Yeah.
But you did it anyway because it's not satisfying to have the fake mom relationship that's not real. She's saying it will be equally unsatisfying for you to have this fake love for me that is not based in reality.
And if she said that, I would totally agree.
That's what I read in between the lines.
Yeah.
I think that was the point.
I think that is generous, but that's fine.
I don't think so.
I think it was muddled.
I'm thinking that's what it said. Well, personally.
All right.
I'm here for you, Terry, on our birthday.
Oh, yeah.
So she just, like, reiterates, like, I've never cared for anybody like I care for you, but, like, we cannot be together. And Richard's like, not true. I know for a fact there's a way around this. And then she's like, no, there isn't. So then we get into it, right? So
he ended up being right, ladies and gentlemen. But
eventually, I'm sure. Remember when I told you some who lived in the Midlands were creatures of magic and they couldn't give up that magic because it was a part of them? I am one of those creatures. I am more than a woman. So what are you? I am a confessor.
That's like literally the blue text on the FAQ. I must confess. All right. My loneliness is killing me now.
Richard immediately is like, because he like recognizes the word confessor from
Yeah,
the book of
he
Counted
goes,
Shadows.
Oh, you hate when I do that.
I don't get it. I don't.
Oh.
Can you explain it? What is it?
I don't. Honestly, no, I can't. I'm not going to try and explain that. It's like,
what does it mean?
it's like, you know, the Avatar state when Aang's like, and like the light. It's like a...
Whatever you're doing is not giving Avatar State to me.
What is it giving?
Because, like, Avatar State looks cool, and that does not.
I'm so sorry that I cannot shine lights out of my eyes and mouth. I wish I could.
Does it come out of their mouth?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Where?
When their heads go up and they go into the Avatar state.
So you're telling me there just isn't, when you Google Avatar State, there's
Those
only
are
one?
Google an animation of entering the Avatar state. Listen, it does happen. It happened at least once. I don't know.
It does not.
It does. It's there.
It doesn't come out of their mouth.
I don't know what point I was even making now.
I said that he freaked out because he recognizes the word confessor. Do I say the quote?
No, I do. Verification of the truth of the words of the Book of Counted Shadows, if spoken by another rather than read by the one who commands the boxes, can only be ensured by the use of a confessor. There you go. It's like the first line in the book.
Yeah.
Convenient.
And he's like, I don't think, he like racks his brain. He's like, I don't think they mention them any other time in the book, just this once.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I've heard this word because of my dad, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
So Kahlan says it's a power, a magic power that is passed from mother to daughter, going back almost as far as there have been the lands back beyond the dark time. Richard does not know what the dark time is. Neither do we.
Well, obviously it's beyond the dark time because we define the dark time. But anyway, I guess he doesn't know what that is. So, yeah.
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 Right. Yeah, I know. It is kind of like, it's like saying like, oh yeah, that happened before Jesus, but you're like talking about Jesus existing or something.
Yeah, that's what.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like being like Mary was pregnant with Jesus before
Jesus.
Before Jesus, you're like,
Yeah,
well, yeah.
That's how that. Okay.
Duh.
Yeah, they're involved in the thing.
So, it is something we are born with, magic that is a part of us and cannot be separated from us any more than you could be separated from your heart. Any woman who is a confessor will bear children who are confessors always, but the power is not the same in all of us, and some it is weaker and some it is stronger. Okay. So far, I mean...
Cool. Yeah, whatever.
Got it.
And I'm not mad yet. I'm not burdened yet with the amount of information.
Definitely not.
No.
So Richard says, well, what sort of magic is it? Which is that's exactly what you'd ask here.
Yeah. The next blue line.
Power invoked by touch. It's always there inside of us. We don't bring it out to use. Instead, we must always hold it in and use it by releasing our grip of it, relaxing our hold, and letting it come forth. I do like
I do too. I like it a lot.
Of powers between ones that you have to like get to come out and like, bring out versus like it's actually just a constant.
It's always in me and I'm holding it back.
So I like that. That's a cool idea. So he says, well, what does this power do? Again, good question. It does not reveal itself well in words. I never thought it would be this troublesome to explain. For someone who is not from the Midlands, it's difficult to, whatever. She just says a variety of ways and many, many times throughout the chapter how hard it is for her to express what her power is exactly. Yeah. It is kind of multifaceted and complicated.
It is. It is. It does basically one big thing, but it's hard to kind of break it down how and why. And, that is quite a burden. That power is tremendous and terrible. It would make you feel very lonely, very like, I don't know, just tired all the time probably.
Yeah.
It's so strange for like a power to have like such a weight to it, and the only way to relax that weight is to do something so intense and kind of like you can't morally discharge it unless you have a good reason.
Yeah, I guess she like does frequently have a good reason,
which helps.
Always, like criminals.
But think about going like a year without getting rid of this power. Like that seems like awful.
I mean, it seems a little less bad when there were a bunch of confessors around. It seems really bad now that she's the only one.
It does, yeah.
That's upsetting.
She's literally, interesting that I brought up Avatar, but she is kind of like Aang right now. She's the last confessor.
Yeah, it is just like that.
Yeah.
That's true.
and she needs to continue the race.
She says, it is the power of love. How do you feel about that classification of the power?
I don't know how it feels, so I can't really... I don't know.
I see, like, I'm just like, okay, well, we're going to get really hung up here. I think anybody would. I mean, you could just take it at face value and not overthink it. But if you overthink it, you're like, it really depends on how you're defining love, right?
Yeah. So using knowledge of how this plays out, right?
Yeah.
Because anyone she's ever done it to has never been able to resist it, right? And I think, so Dark and Raw can because of the boxes, but that's a special case. Richard can because he loves her back just as much as she loves him. So it's like a contest of love almost. And if hers wins, if she has more compassion for you than you her.
Wow, that's a really weird take. I just am not thinking of it like that. I don't know. She has... like the guy she did it, that she'll tell us her first kill... she didn't have so much compassion for him. I don't feel like the power has like anything to do with that.
It doesn't have to do with love. She didn't love him.
No, because I don't think she's saying that. I think
it's
saying,
whatever. Like if you break love down into a force.
I don't think it has to do with her feelings towards you. It's that she's going to use the power
to make you feel that way towards her. Oh.
Yeah. She has the power to make you love her. But I guess I'm like, would you describe how these people feel and behave as love? Like, what does that really mean?
That's why it's kind of weird. It's like the word obsessed or the word
I'm like, it's like the power of infatuation more.
But I guess it goes beyond that. So she's trying to say
the power
like
of
it's
slavery.
Since it's so absolute, it needs a bigger word, and love maybe is that word. I think
that's why she keeps saying it's hard to describe. Maybe that's like the closest thing, but I'm like, it doesn't feel right because love inherently feels mutual. It feels like you have some like say and ownership of it, and there's potentially limits to it. Like this does not seem like love. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's the closest word we have. But like, I don't know.
Well, maybe if you could turn love into a weapon, this is maybe what it would look like. Dark love, or just absolute love. You know?
I don't know.
Love is a dominating force, you know?
I like dark love.
Dark love,
That's
baby.
What we're gonna go with.
We'll play the sax. Dark love.
And so Richard almost laughs and says, I'm supposed to be afraid of the power of love, which I'm like, Richard, like...
He's such an asshole.
Come on. This is so... That's a dumb thing to say. You know she's about to tell you some shit, okay? It's in your book.
It's in the book.
Like, you know she's powerful. I don't know why you would say that.
He's trying to discharge the intensity of it, and she gets rightfully like furious.
I liked how this was written. Kahlan's back stiffens, indignation flared in her eyes. Indignation and the kind of timeless look Addie and Shota had flashed at him. One that told him his words were disrespectful, that even his small smile was insolent. I was like, okay, that was like fire.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Those bars were fire.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I want more Kahlan in that mode.
Mm-hmm. I think we get it later on.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, and you deserved it. You deserved it every time, to be honest with you. Richard.
Yeah, he's on his journey of getting beat down by powerful women. The fourth one's coming.
Boy, is he ever.
All right, wait. So what are our 4 powerful women so far? So we have Addie the Bone Woman.
So we have a crone.
We have a bewitching big booby sorceress.
So we have
the loving mother of our life.
Oh my god. Okay. Hold on.
And we have the Dami Mommy.
Okay, yeah, I guess it's Shota the whore when you got the Mordsith.
Kinda, yeah, because she's not... Like, the Mordsith are not... It's not sexual
You're one of these now.
No, the whole thing is Terry was sexual when he wrote it, but, like, I
think it's sexual.
It is. But it's like... How do I explain this? What's the difference? What would you describe the difference between what Shota does and what a Mordsith does to ensnare?
Well, one is using a lot of force and one is using seduction.
Seduction versus pain, bewitching, beguiling confusion versus
psychological torture.
Like sexual contact and like domination. Those are different things. So I don't know. Maybe he just split the whore into 2 categories.
And that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from it. I don't know. Kahlan's also, I guess she's like Mother Mary because she's very virginal. Mm-hmm. She's the Madonna.
Wearing white. Richard thought it was his mother when she was stroking his hair when he was unconscious.
We're really doing a lot of female
archetypes
in this series.
Yeah.
Some male, but like not really. They're all, we really just got Richard and Zed, and then I understand we have Chase, but like he feels more like Richard.
Grounded.
He's like alt Richard or something.
No, he's like I don't know. He's not as lofty. He's not really.
Guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy. He's like a sick guy, but he's like a hot ripped guy. But yeah.
She keeps describing, do not take it lightly. Once touched, you are no longer the person you were. You are changed forever. You are devoted to the one who touches you to the exclusion of all else. What you wanted, what you were, who you were no longer means anything to you. You would do anything for the one who touches you. Your life is no longer yours. It's hers. Your life is no longer your own. You cannot rise up and live it.
That's true.
You rise up and live the Confessor's life.
Yeah, it's her dreams that matter now.
That seems important because that's like his number one like message.
How long does the power last?
We're not there yet.
Forever.
What is that?
You never saw The Sandlot? No, you haven't actually. Never mind. That's from The Sandlot.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
So your soul is no longer yours. It is hers. The person you were no longer exists. It is a scary power, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, to me, it's like you functionally just die. I do feel like we like frequently are trying to create this like distinction. And I'm like, I don't think there is one, to be honest.
If you're not in there enough to have any will,
right?
Are you in there? Or is it just your body being like puppeted by her desires?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like,
I don't know what
but it's weird because I do think, and we kind of get into the like functionality of this power. She can make them talk to other people, do stuff with their own memories and all that sort.
Is that true?
Yeah, because it's not just like a blank slate like body double. They're
know.
walking around like getting other important people for her and doing stuff like that.
Guards.
So it's like, I think she can say, act totally normal, go get this guy, bring him back here.
But like, you're not you being normal.
But you would be you being normal if she asked you to everyone else's perception.
Yeah, I know. I meant from your perspective.
Oh, no, you're not. You're just saying, I can't wait to do this for her. I can't wait to act like myself because she wants me to.
Yeah, it's so interesting, though. The theme of female domination is alive and well here.
Yeah.
Before we even have to get to the Mord Sith. It's here already,
yep.
Everybody.
Wizard's second rule is femdom's out there.
Yeah.
And it is real.
I think it's the first rule, to be honest. It's rule like 0.5. It's the pre-rule.
It comes in before the first rule?
Yes, it's just like femdom.
Please accept. Femdom is real.
Femdom exists. That's all you need to know.
Well, this power is quite femdom, and we'll get there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, just the idea of everybody, yes, mistress, yes, mistress. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Wow.
So, how long does this last? As long as they're alive. So it's
rough.
It's sort of like you bewitch people. She says, not exactly, but you could put it that way. The touch of a confessor is much more powerful and final. A bewitching could be removed. And then we have confirmation. Shota was bewitching him, even if he did not realize it.
He did.
It's an incremental thing. Witches cannot help it. It's their way. But your anger and the sword protected you.
I kind of like that.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that.
I love
like, witches can't
just like, I can't even help it.
I have an aura of hot.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
how I am.
Everyone just kind of likes being around me.
Can you blame?
Why are they? And this may be why they're always alone.
I mean, maybe.
You know? Because it's not as absolute. I would think a lot of
people would like that. Like, they'd want to be around it. Right?
Yeah, like a headmistress with that kind of power. And, like, she has all these, like, students that are, like, addicted. I'm writing my own book now.
It's going to have a lot of similar themes, I think.
And her boobs are huge.
His headmistress.
Headmistress has giant boobs.
Okay.
Yeah. Samuel's the first in the class.
So I enjoy the fact that Shota and the witches in general are just like constantly, they're just aura. They're absolute existence is to bewitch.
Yep.
Fun.
Cool.
And Kahlan's like, that's why I kind of didn't want to go to Shota, because witches really hate confessors because they're very jealous of how powerful we are. The fact that, like, we don't have to, like, lightly influence. We just get, like, total control.
Yeah, it's like flipping a switch instead of having this, like, charm.
So, like, Addie's a witch?
She's a witch woman, right? Didn't we say that? She's a sorceress.
Oh, is that different?
Guess so.
Is it really?
I don't know. Yeah, so Shota is a witch woman and Addie is a sorceress.
Tell me.
Don't know what the differences are.
Another tell me. So, the court artist is coming back. The court artist is coming back. And...
Don't let me draw you now.
But I was kind of like, wait, how did he survive the fireball? So clearly not everyone in the castle died.
No, and I'm assuming it was in the air, so I think it was like the tower blew up or something that he was in.
I think I was imagining the whole castle burnt to a crisp.
That's a huge fireball. How strong you think this guy is?
Dark and raw?
No, Gillard probably shot the fireball. I think he self-immolated to, like, take him out.
So it says, like, Richard's mouth goes dry and he's so upset by all this information, but the only thing he can think to do is keep asking questions. Mm-hmm. It's very convenient that was his desire. The only thing I can freaking do right now is just get all the lore.
I desire a lore dump.
Yes. So here we go. We're more questions. Does your power work on everyone? Like I said, we're hitting the FAQ. Here we go. Yep. Do a confessor's powers work on everyone? Well, you see, everyone human except for Dark and Raw, because the magic of Orden is protecting him.
All humans, asterisk. Dark and Raw with boxes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On non-humans, it mostly doesn't work because they need the capacity for compassion, for the activation of power to occur.
Sure.
Which the magic requires in order to work. It works on some other creatures, but not exactly the same as it does on humans. Okay.
I got a huge problem here.
Why?
Because one of the examples that she gives of a creature that does not have compassion is a gar.
Does she say that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a gar wouldn't.
Oh my god!
It wouldn't
and
work
we all
on a
know
gar.
that Gratch is just such a good little boy.
Gratch lug Richard.
Right. So like, where'd the lug
come
from?
Equals compassion.
Well, okay, maybe it would have worked on him though.
So they can learn compassion by proximity, and then you can turn them into unwilling thralls.
I bet it would have worked on him.
Damn, that's a smart. You should have had a gar army then. Because
he does lug Richard. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So that's a mistake. Terry fucked up.
Misrepresenting the Gars. Don't love that.
It's just inconsistent, and it's fine.
I don't think Gratch existed in his mind yet.
Nope. No way.
But yeah, again, I guess it does make sense. I was like, okay, so this is why it's the power of love. It's making sense. You're like, okay, so the way the power is, what it is manipulating is the power internally you have that desires doing things for people. Here's my issue. That would imply to me that, for example, the pedophile murderer sociopaths that Kahlan confesses, it should work less on them and more on good people.
I think the implication is that the weaker you are as a confessor, that might be true. But she's just so fucking good.
She'll find
that she finds something in you.
Pocket.
Exactly.
Okay. I guess I'll take that.
If you take it to look like that, like those sociopathic people love themselves a lot.
Okay.
And she says, no, now you just love me.
Right. I guess that's...
So she's taking...
Is that's not compassion. No, because if that were true, then it would work on like animals and stuff, right? Because they only care about themselves.
They don't do it out of love. They do it out of instinct a lot of the time.
That sociopaths are like... and murderers are doing it out of love of themselves.
No, but I think it's a deeper rationale than animals have.
It just seems kind of weird.
I don't think sociopathic murderers, whether or not they exist for real like that, I don't think they're working on instinct. Like, they're not like Wolverine men out in the tundra being like, I kill anything that comes near me because I need to live. Like, that's not... We're talking about like serial killers. Like, they have some like inner machinations of compassion, love, self. Like, it's not just survival. They're doing like a weird thing.
Yeah, I think they're being incredibly selfish, which is like the opposite of compassion.
Sure, but I'm saying I think that selfishness is self-love in a weird way, and she's able to bend all types of love towards her.
It doesn't feel...
Which is why it obliterates the person.
But, like, compassion is so specific, and it's so weird to think that she's primarily using it on people who seem to just, like, totally lack it.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I don't know. It's just like a strange dichotomy.
Maybe it's just they had the capacity to do it, whether or not they used it, because they're human beings. They have compassion in there. They just don't activate it, utilize it, and she's finding it and just bending it.
It's an interesting take on, like,
I view it,
humans.
I view it as she just grabs the, like, core of a human, like, thing that is in you and just says mine.
But see, that almost feels more like it's like consciousness bending versus compassion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like, I don't know how many have lived truly with zero compassion, you know? Truly none. Like,
I guess I'm just saying, like I said, I just feel like it would work. Then there would be like this clear delineation of like, it is much harder to do on these people and much easier to do on these people.
That would be very bad for the point of Confessors.
Yeah,
though,
I know,
so.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
It seems weird to have that be the crux of it, compassion, when you're also trying to get me to buy
that the people that are getting confessed the most probably have less of that.
Or, yeah, like a very small amount.
True. Yeah.
It's just, like, weird. I don't know. So then he asks about, like, oh, will you confess Shar? Which I have also been wondering this. And it's actually kind of a nice answer.
Yeah. So Richard kind of puts two and two together about Shar, and he asks Kahlan, is that you used your power on her? Is that what happened? Kahlan says that Shar was so lonely and so upset about being away from her family, because the Night Wisps are so close in this way, that Kahlan basically took all that pain away from her and replaced it with only love for her. At Shar's request.
This is so dumb.
Oh. Lauren's crying for Shar right now.
I can't help it. I do cry easily. We just haven't had much occasion
Yeah,
the
story's not filled with that kind of stuff, usually.
It hasn't had that impact.
No, Shar is a tragic character.
Yeah, I mean, Shar was like on the page for like
3 pages, yeah.
Shar was here for 3 pages.
You just cry at the drop of a concept, so I understand. It's a sad and sweet thing. She offered, and this whole chapter kind of, by painting the enormity of Kahlan's power and how truly heavy that weight is and how kind of a difficult thing to ask for that is. Like, Shar asked for something really intense, and that's why Kahlan didn't want to do it.
For sure.
But it is almost like such a nice mercy that she granted her.
If anything, you're kind of like, it must feel nice maybe.
To finally be able to do it.
To be like, oh, this is actually like the one time I could do it. That feels nice to do.
You would have such a complex about doing it, period, ever. Like,
for sure.
It's such a hard
thing.
But
also, but don't you think you'd also like it, kind of?
Yeah.
Because for that like hour, you're like, oh, it's like when you nut. You know when you're like, when you're all built up, and then you nut, and then you're like, oh, I feel so good.
Dear listener, do you know about nutting?
Let me...
Have you nutted today? Let's pause and take a time for yourself to nut, and then come back when you feel calm and
then contemplate what it would feel like to be a confessor.
Kahlan's in No Nut November all the time, and she only gets to nut with serial killers. Think about that.
That sucks.
Next time you want to dunk on her, think about that. And then she went splat, but...
Wait, how did that end?
She just died. She was dying anyway.
Why do you say... She didn't act...
No, she didn't go splat. No, that was a joke.
Nobody actually did that to her, right?
No. No, she was dying, and the pain of dying... She was literally dying from being so lonely.
Yeah.
So coming this far and doing this whole thing that she knew she was going to die. And in the moments before death, she's like, please don't let me die with all this pain.
Yeah.
And Kahlan took it away from her.
Yeah, I would pick that.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Why not?
You'd be like, oh, I could just love the beautiful lady and bask in her loving glow in the end of
Did you nut today? Do you need to take a minute?
In the end of my life.
She loves the beautiful lady too much. You want to... We'll be right back, dear listener.
I was just loving that beautiful lady on my deathbed. That's all.
So lonely without nuts and beautiful women. All right.
Anyway, let's move on. So we like, this is just Richard's
Rapid
hour
fire, Richard, like,
of like rehashing.
so wait, you killed Char? So wait, those men on the bridge.
So wait.
Yeah. So then we get a really, I don't understand. Like the men on the bridge thing was really like, what happened? Like when you read it, you're like, that was weird. And like this whole time you're sitting with it. Like, what did she do? And now she's telling you. And like Terry's had 300 and something pages to come up with some cool way to explain this.
It was so,
and it's the most boring fucking thing in the world.
It's so boring,
like,
and it's so convoluted. I was just reading it.
I hit the one, and then you were able to fight the other, and then you got in between the two, and then the other one, instead of losing the fight with the leader, took him over the edge. It's like, God damn.
You're really linning this.
I used my power to take him over. I pushed him over the edge, but you fought him with your swords.
Yeah, so I literally just wrote blah, 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 because it was so boring how he explained this. But yeah, the general idea here with the quad, I think we kind of like
the takeaway is that if a confessor takes one, it's still 3v2. That's it.
And one to two will be taking out the confessed man.
Yes, and then the other one will kill the confessor. That's the goal.
But it's important to note is because he will be so powerful in fighting for his beloved that he will take out two men.
Yeah, which, okay. But also just like, doesn't that just seem like a good assassination squad? I'm not sending one guy.
Yeah, for sure. I was also like, send 5. Like,
it doesn't get worse the more people you send.
Just send 5.
It's just economical. 5's a whole other 20 gold.
Says
yeah, it's so economical.
It's economical, which I was like, okay, I get it. That's the least amount of people you could send that can still kill her. But if you send one quad and it failed, which is what happened because she took him out, send a quint.
A quint?
Send a quint.
Are you kidding me? That's so uneconomical. What a waste of gold.
In this circumstance, at the end of
Send
the world,
a battalion. Have them go take her out. What do you mean? Send archers. I don't know. No, it's just
we gotta stick with the quad.
First off, this woman needs to touch you. Send people with bows and arrows to kill her.
Right.
So that no one has to worry about it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Send a ranged assassin.
Send 10 assassins, on the ground assassins, and 10 archers.
What are you doing? Sending hand-to-hand combat people.
In this chapter, they are really trying to sell me on the idea that, like, there's just no way to get the confessors. And I just keep being like, I could come up with some ways.
Yeah, in the absence of guns, I could think of 75 other ways.
I'm not saying it's, like, super easy or anything, but they don't, like, it's not like she has a power where she's like, oh, I'm like atomic bombing this whole range. Like
she's not Eldritch blasting from a mile away.
There's no AoE going on.
No AoE. There's no.
So now it just seems like, okay, great. So no AoE. Just send a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just overwhelm her or hit her from a distance. It's so easy.
I need to at least see some people trying that, and then I need to see how she overrides it, and then I'll buy it. 4
guys with a sling and a rock would do better than a quad half the time, I feel like.
They're sending a boomerang after her.
The economical thing is 4 boomerang warriors from the coast of Australonia. That's what Terry would probably name it.
Yeah.
Australio. He would just change like one letter.
So he's like, okay, well, why don't you just like touch everybody? Like if there's squads there, just touch
why not tap them up?
So she's like, okay, yeah, because every time we use the power, it takes time to recover.
Yeah.
So then that's when Richard has the realization. He's like, oh my god, that guy I killed when we were coming out of the boundary. Yep. I didn't have to kill him, did I? You would have done it. And Kahlan's like,
no,
yeah,
man.
you didn't need to do that. So
1-on-1, I will never lose. That's what Kahlan says.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so that implies she doesn't have to touch the flesh, because, like, now we're getting risky if you have to, like, touch his face or something.
Yeah,
so she could just touch him anywhere. What about his, like, why is she so fast?
Yeah, right.
Why can't a man swinging a sword get her before she touches?
Right, because that's the thing. I kind of wish her power also had...
like a protective sort of shield or some sort of like...
it also, like, blasted out. Right? Like, it's like, if you're touching me, you'll be done.
You're fucked, yeah.
But I also could...
like, within a foot.
Yeah,
kind of
like a few feet away,
Yeah.
shoot a laser at you that does the same thing. Because that will be much more convincing. Because then I'm like, oh, even if you're near her,
Yeah.
you're probably fucked.
It's like her aura.
But yeah, the touch part doesn't... I'm like, I don't know. Reasonably, I think someone might be able to get you with a weapon.
Yep.
A long range, anything.
Well, here's where we get the hard magic system details. So.
All right, so how much time does it take to recover? She's like, everyone's different. Some people it takes several days. Some people it's like a day. Most people it takes about 1 day and 1 night. And then he's like, how long does it take you to recharge?
Every 2 hours.
Okay, party hats in the chat for 2-hour regen. Our girl's most powerful.
Power nut. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, so shorter recovery also means my power is stronger. So she says, like, yeah, my post-orgasm redo... what's the word I'm looking for?
It's refractory time.
Oh, my
There you go.
refractory period
Yeah.
is very small, which
Yeah.
means my orgasms are extremely strong.
Her orgasms are gigantic and constant.
Wild.
Think of like the intensity of holding that. Every 2 hours, this girl needs to literally come.
She doesn't need to, she just could.
She could. She can come every 2 hours.
No, but that sucks for her. So that means she's the least relaxed. Because everybody
Correct.
else, they're like blasting off. And then they're like, oh, I got a couple of days.
Yeah, her sister was like, I do it once a week and I'm good.
And then I hang out. I don't have to like hold it back so much because it's not there. But
And yet-
Kahlan's like, I got an hour. Whoop-de-doo. Confessors have like a hierarchy according to how much power they have. The ones who are stronger will usually have stronger daughters, so we like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she specifies that there's no jealousy among the confessors, like when it comes to strength. It's only deeper affection and devotion, and the lower ranks will protect the higher ranks with their lives if they must.
I'm glad he said it because women tend to get jealous. So thank you, Terry, for...
It does, between the Shota thing, the like, oh, this beautiful woman, don't trust her, and then like, you'd be shocked to know.
The confessors actually don't...
No, we don't
care
fucking
about
hate each
rank.
other.
It's totally, just economical.
Yeah,
based
and
on-
again,
yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
because I do think high school me was like, oh god, so relatable.
Yeah.
You know how girls be.
Yeah.
We're like,
wow, it sounds really nice to be part of a group of girls that have no competition.
as like an adult, I'm not
Yeah, it's like...
feeling that
all right,
so
yeah.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like in different social circles though. That's like I think that's true. It's probably in different social circles. That's like more or less a thing. I think
Yeah.
I could find social circles easily right now where I'd be like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
is very much alive and well.
Sure.
I just don't
Of course it exists.
do it.
It exists among men.
For sure.
It exists
but
all over
do
the
you know what I
place.
mean? I think there's like different
Yes.
types of groups of friends where that's like much more prevalent or like
Sure.
much more absent.
Yeah, I agree. Of course.
like-
yeah.
Okay, an exploration of a thing
Yep.
that exists, I guess. I did think it was interesting. I like that idea of taking it as like for the most part that is the case, like culturally that is the case. But there's some part of me that's like, you're telling me not one confessor ever felt jealousy? Like that's not human. Like that doesn't really make sense. Of course, someone somewhere must have grappled with that in the confessor.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't.
Never.
That seems silly to me.
Except for maybe the entire bad group of confessors that we're just going to talk about soon. Maybe they did.
Right. It just feels that doesn't feel nuanced or human. You could be like, for the most part, it actually just isn't how we operate. It's not how we think of things, so it tends to not happen. But like, there's gonna be someone one
Even
time.
explain it away as something to do with the magic. Where like we all just recognize that like there's a inner hierarchy within us.
We feel it.
Like you're some sort of ant colony or
right.
something.
Maybe
You know?
that could be the explanation. So Richard's like, well, what's your rank? And then all confessors follow me. Many lay down their lives to protect mine, that I might survive and somehow use my power to stop Rahl. Of course, there are none to follow me now. I am the only one left. Dark and Rahl has killed every last one. And then he says, do you have a title? I am the Mother Confessor.
Mother.
Yeah.
All right. So she is mother.
She is so mother.
She's giving mother. Those two things could have been condensed into one thing. She didn't need to say many confessors laid down their lives. Like it's so
there
clunky.
was a lot. This chapter could have been edited really a lot,
and it would have hit.
It would have been so
some
much
of the lines
better.
that hit are like, ooh, yeah, Terry.
It's muddled.
It's muddled
in there because there's a lot of repetition of themes. That I'm like,
you don't say.
Okay,
he's repeating.
So
unlike him.
But you know what I thought of when they were talking about that, like the lower ranks in their culture is like, we're not jealous, but like we are ready to die for each other. I was like, oh, that's where Kahlan's little death wish comes from. Her like,
that
I'm gonna constantly sacrifice, because here's my thought.
Oh.
Kahlan was never, she was watching everyone do that for her, which is like a really shitty position to be in.
Yeah.
In a way.
And thinks it's totally normal.
Well, she thinks it's totally normal, but I think she also probably had a complex about like, they're all sacrificing themselves for me, and I'm feeling this burden and this guilt that everyone's laying down their life for me. And then once she was given the opportunity to be like, oh, I don't have to be the person who accepts everyone dying for me.
Yeah.
She was like, great, I'll do the other thing.
Yep.
Like, got it.
Well, she only knows two options on the
versions,
seesaw.
right.
She's like, I've always been up here. Everyone else is down there dying for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's made me feel really bad.
I was hating.
Because I can never help them.
Yes.
I always had to like be like, that is the way. And they were like, that is the way. And they die.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's like, I'm actually serving someone else. So technically, I'm on the bottom of the seesaw now.
I get to die now.
I get to die, which is really helpful. They've all
Yeah.
died for me, so now I get to die for him.
Yeah. I was like,
That kind of works.
It does. Although I would argue they probably, like, before the Dark and Raw stuff.
Didn't die that often.
Yeah, like, I don't think they will, like, jump to that immediately.
No. It probably happened a lot very recently.
So she was.
It's been weighing
she's in
on her now.
She's in the mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, Richard's kind of like, I don't really let celebrities get to my head. Like, I've taken some big wigs around the Westland Forest, and I just treat them like normal people, and they like that. So, Mother Confessor, is that like being a queen?
Yeah. No, queens bow down to the Mother Confessor.
Now he's rocked.
Yeah, so he's like, he was intimidated. He was like, you're what? Like, you're better than a queen? I can't conceptualize that.
We only have senators, so I don't even, we only have congressmen.
So then she's like, oh, the dress I was wearing when you first saw me, that beautiful white dress, that's my Mother Confessor dress. All confessors wear a special dress, but apparently everybody else is wearing black dresses. That's what most confessors wear.
Yeah.
But she, because she is special, wears the white one.
Yep.
And then she's like, oh, I hate having to explain this to you. Like, when I have to, like, say it out loud, the whole thing sounds very weird and arrogant.
I like that.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like,
she's annoyed at explaining her eminence. And I was like, yeah, you would. If your entire, imagine being the queen and then going to another like land and then being like, we don't have that. What can you explain it to me?
Why does everyone listen to you? And you're like, well,
because I was born and I had a certain degree of like royal blood, and it's like you would be like, well, I don't know, like they just listen to me. Shush.
So then we get some like Midlands lore, which I've been dying for, but somehow didn't feel very satisfied by what was said. So there's a lot of things going on here. Kings and queens exist. They're the masters of their lands, and they each have their own domain, right? So I guess they're like making their own rules and everything in their little area.
It's like their states.
So then there are a number of them. Other lands are ruled by other means, such as councils. So then we have like some democracy going on in some of the states as well. And then some places are just like magic creature zones where humans are not hanging out and they have their own little way of being.
It makes sense. We got fictional Europe, let's say, right? Germany, there's pixies in the Black Forest, go in there if you're a human. France, we got a little democracy going on. We got kings over in Germany. But the Vatican, that's where the magic people live.
Right. So we find out about where Kahlan is from, and it's a land called Idendrill.
I think, yeah.
Adendrill?
Adendrill or Idendrill, either one.
My brain said Idendrill.
Me too.
which is where Confessors live and also where wizards live and where the Central Council of the Midlands is located. So I think Erica...
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Cynthia or Erica. Somebody was mentioning that they have magical UN. I'm assuming
that's magical UN. That's that makes sense. Yeah.
Council is, and Idendril is beautiful, but it's been a very long time since Kahlan has been home. Here's where we start getting into Wheel of Time territory.
We've just crossed right over the border into Robert Jordan's
Forget
pot.
Lord of the Rings. That's old news.
We're done with that.
We did Tolkien. We're coming for you, Robert.
Yeah.
I'm conflicted. I don't know how to feel. Terry has been so explicit in saying, I did not read Robert Jordan.
Yep.
And so, like, there's only two options here. There's really only two. It's either that genuinely they happen to come up with very similar things. It's not impossible because a lot of it is based in... like, I think concepts that have existed pre both of them.
Of course, yeah.
But it is pretty noticeable. But I am a Tolkien person. I'm not really a Wheel of Time person, although I like it.
Yeah.
So I feel very confident saying that I very much think that he copied Tolkien. I'm not as comfortable because my Wheel of Time knowledge is so small saying that.
Yep.
But, like, my dude, either it was just perchance, which seems... less likely having seen him steal Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then if he did copy, he's just lying outright, which I find very bizarre,
and
especially
ironic,
considering the theme of the series, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that really bothers me if that's the case, but no, we'll never know.
We can't know, but... the first book of the Wheel of Time came out 4 years before Wizard's First Rule was published. So that's sus.
It is.
It was definitely more than enough time for it to be popular, for him to have heard about it, for him to have read it, for him to start thinking about his own book ideas.
But, like, you really think my man, sat down, really read this series, and then was comfortable, like, just being like, nope, didn't do that. That's crazy.
Now, he claims he didn't even read it?
Yes.
Listen, let's pick apart the elements, right? A central city where the powerful women live?
Go.
Okay, yeah, we'll go through it then.
Wizards also live there, and Confessors and Wizards are closely linked and bonded.
Yep.
The same way, she compares it to the way that the Old One, which I guess is like the title of a important wizard, is linked to the Seeker, right? Like power-wise and how they like work together. And it's more relevant a little bit later when she describes the wizard confessor relationship, which is the same. It is the same as what happens in Wheel of Time, but the archetype of powerful sorceress with like kind of like a knightly type fella following her around as her protector, I don't think is...
No, I mean, that's just straight up archetypes. So
I know,
there's a little bit there where you could...
I struggle, because I'm like, I could see two people coming up with that.
Definitely. I mean, it's not impossible, and that is not the thing in and of itself. That's the problem.
It's always the combination of elements. It's that plus the Mord Sith. Like, it's...
yeah. Well,
how could
keep
it
going,
be?
though. There's more here that connect it, but...
So... she's like, nobody has claim over Idendril, and nobody would ever try to take it over because they're afraid of Confessors and Wizards, which, like, the combo is very powerful, right?
Yeah.
So all of the lands of the Midlands contribute to support and pay tribute to Idendril, so they're, like, giving them taxes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Confessors are above the law of any one jurisdiction in the Midlands, but we also serve the people of the Midlands via the Central Council. So there's, like, this give and take where they're like extremely powerful in a lot of ways. They don't have to adhere to any laws, but also their like entire life is dedicated to the service of everyone in the land.
Yeah. Taxes being an important part of that.
What is that? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
We get like just more Midlands information. So in the past, arrogant rulers wanted to like dominate the Confessors.
Yep.
So they were like, they're too dangerous. They're way OP. It's kind of like, the X-Men, right? Like
all right,
taking the mutants down.
Sure. So they went the way of Magneto. And...
Yeah, kind of. Okay, so there was like rulers who were like, they're too dangerous. We can't let them be running around.
Yep.
And then the Confessors, a bunch of them who are now like considered like legends in Confessor lore, decided that like that's not okay. We're gonna get on top of this before they just dominate us.
We're gonna dominate them.
Right. So they like round up all of the rulers in the Midlands.
Yep.
And replace them with rulers that they appoint who like will listen to the Confessors.
Feels bad.
Feels really bad.
Feels weird.
And then they keep the old rulers, they keep them as slaves.
Correct. Force them to be servants and to make an example out of everyone. And to be fair,
yeah,
they didn't do that and then go, and now we're in charge of all of you. They said, this is an example of what can happen. Leave us the fuck alone.
Right, which I kind of get.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If the choice is slavery or to enslave, and then you choose, I will kind of enslave you and then leave you alone, do not come back at me or the same thing's going to happen again.
Right.
Then you're kind of like, all right.
Yeah, but like, so like they like would travel around the lands and all the like former kings and queens would travel with them as slaves, like carrying luxuries and food. The imagery is interesting.
It's
there.
Good. Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, there was like a lot more ceremony back then around Confessors, and it made the impression we wanted, which is like, don't fuck with us.
Sure.
It's a little weird, though. It's a little fascist in nature.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess part of Richard's reaction to all of this is, I hate this. So,
yeah. He reacts poorly, and it makes sense. You are kind of like, whoa. But at the same time, you're kind of like, she is like recounting like ancient history.
Yeah.
And it's hard when this isn't just like something where you're like, oh, this is my like, I don't know, political, geographical identity. I'm Italian. Like, it is like magic that is really intense and part of this big lineage. And like, what else can she do? She's just part of it.
And to be fair, the boundary between Midlands and Westlands has not existed longer than like 80 years, right?
Right.
So they also belong to the Midlands. Everyone in the Westlands is like one generation away.
I know, but he would argue they consciously looked at this, and these were all the people that said, nah, and left, right? So like, you could easily be like, they are morally superior. You could. I
can't help because I did finish the series up until like the chain fire or whatever ending that it came to. And Terry basically makes the opposite point at the end.
Like how?
Like people who would choose non-magic deserve non-magic, and they're actually bad and stupid. Like that ends up being the grand point, I think. The argument ends up
being like, anytime you have a tool available to you, you should be willing to utilize it for good and figure out how to do so.
Yeah, like, I guess if you would rather break a tool than... Yeah, if you would rather forgo tools than use them well...
Right.
...means you deserve no tools.
So, like, in his opinion, is it like throwing the ring into Mount Doom was so stupid, you should have just been Boromir and figured out...
Or Isildur, yeah.
Yeah, how to use it well for your people.
Yeah, they tried that a lot. But here we are.
So then Richard's like, okay, how did that even happen? Because why didn't they have like a ton of guards, right?
Yeah.
The kings and queens that you guys took off the throne. And Kahlan kind of like, I don't know if she was very convincing. She was like, oh, it's easy.
I thought about it. It would be easy. It would be so easy. It
made sense. Because first she kind of tried to explain it as if like one confessor was doing it. And I was like, I don't know if that sounds easy, especially if you have... Depends how long your recharge time is, I suppose. But then she was like, if the mother confessor who could do it in like an hour plus all of the other confessors went in at once, it would be easy. I was like, well,
that would be 5 minutes. That would be the easiest thing in the world. Think about zombies, right? The concept is zombies, basically. Except the people you infect can infect.
Yeah,
they can
that's
help
important.
you infect. Sure, it decreases the exponential growth, but we don't need exponential growth. We just need to touch one guy. So, a confessor goes into a city, not wearing her special dress, putting her hair up. Touch anyone she wants. Waits to the recharge. That guy helps her get to another more important guy. She just works her way up the chain. A couple of days.
I guess it would take a couple of days.
You overthrow a kingdom in a couple of days. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I go to Washington, D.C. today, and I have this power. I can touch the president in like 48 hours. And that's crazy. If I can steal someone every fucking 2 hours, you don't think I can get in the fucking Oval Office in like a day?
I'm not sure.
I think of like 12 people of higher and higher seniority. I got all the key cards. I got guns. I got like, it's crazy, but you could do it.
Yeah, I guess so. It goes on to explain that she's allowed to kind of go into whatever Midlands territory she wants, and if rulers close their land to a confessor, it's essentially showing that you're guilty, because it's kind of like, well, what can I not come in and find out?
Yeah.
And then generally the confessors might come and just remove you from power for doing that.
So therefore, nobody does it anymore.
Right, which I guess I did steal this concept for my...
You did. Yeah. I thought that, yeah.
I had a D&D character who was a Sphinx, and she would compel people to tell the truth. And that was part of my rationale, that like she was allowed wherever she wanted. Anyway, I guess I took that from Terry.
It's okay.
But you know
I took
I
a lot from Legend of Korra, too. So
you did.
I did.
That is true. You didn't even know you did it.
Nope.
Well, that's literally... So, like, you know, get it, Terry. I'm copying you. We're copying Korra. But at the same time, if somebody came to me and said, oh, wow, that sounds a lot like the Confessors in The Sword of Truth. Did you read that book? I would not say, never read it.
Yeah,
I came up with that.
No,
I don't think that's possible because I didn't read that. I would say, oh, I did read that. I wonder if I got it from there.
You'd be like saying it with this whole ass podcast out. Be like, I've never read it.
I'm not familiar.
Sort of what?
I'm just not familiar. So
Sort of Truth. That's a funny name. No, I never heard of that. Yeah.
Anyway, clearly I do like that concept, and I liked it when I did it in D&D too.
It was pretty good.
So back in the day, some confessors were rogue, and they were like hardcore about finding wrongdoing. So they'd be like running around confessing people, trying to be like, let me get to the bottom of this bad
mysteries
shit.
And shit. Yeah.
But then it wasn't like all of them, and the wizards kind of tried to keep them in check so they didn't go crazy doing this.
Yep.
But everybody at that point saw that confessors were very powerful. So then Richard says, what gave confessors the right? And she's like, I mean, we're going to like remove a ruler right now because we think he's bad. So is it different? And then he's like, maybe not.
Yeah, Richard always comes at things with this like blank slateism.
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, what gives you the right? And it's like, okay, we are literally doing that now. And he's like, yeah, that's fair.
No.
But he's super bad. And it's
Well-
like, so were they. Oh, okay. All right. Now I can, yeah.
I guess I kind of understand. You do. I feel like the whole book, you are kind of bought into their journey.
Yeah.
And then when you hear this, you do have a moment of like, should they have been doing all that? You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's because, though, Richard and Kahlan, and even the way Kahlan speaks about Dark and Raw, there's definitely a sense of like, this is like a once in a,
Yes.
so many year evil.
Yeah.
And it sounds like she's saying like they were just kind of like willy-nilly.
But we are talking about throughout history. So
I
like,
know,
there's
so
a
it's kind of hard. You need to
longitudinal
know
effect.
What sort of timeline
Exactly.
we're on
Well,
here.
since the dark times.
Right.
Could be at least a few hundred years.
So he says, have you ever removed a ruler? She's like, no, never. Seekers actually also used to do that, bitch.
Yeah.
So
And well, actually, you did that too.
they were actually even more feared, the Seekers. But once the old one disappeared, which was Zed at the time, and he went to the Westlands, it was basically the whole thing just became like a dumb political game where they were not actually picking a powerful person in the role. And then from that point on, everyone was like, okay,
They
Seekers,
lost respect for Seekers.
they're not serious anymore. We don't have to worry about it. And then Richard is like, oh, yeah, I'm always feeling like a pawn in other people's games. Everyone's moving me around.
Yeah, which is kind of bullshit, right? You know? People like Zed and,
And then Kahlan's like, you think I do that too? And then he's like, kind of, like, I don't mean it that way. And then he does this, sometimes I wish I was never given the sword. I wish I didn't have this burden, but I can't let Dark and Raw win. I have no choice, and that's what I hate.
And Kahlan goes, funny you should mention all that.
As a matter of fact.
That is my life.
And then she's like, actually, yes, I get it, but, like, you can do this and then be, like, done with it.
Throw
like
that sword away.
My whole life, right? And that's valid. So then he says, why are you called Confessors? I find this all, I don't know, I was, like, trying to work this out in my brain. So she says, we are the arbiters of truth. It's how we serve the people. Mm-hmm. Fine.
Yeah.
I get being like, okay, so this is what your power encompasses and does, but, like, this is how you can help us, is using it to get truth. But it kind of, like, goes back where it says, actually, the reason the wizards gave us the power that Confessors have in the first place, was because they were trying to figure out a way to root out corruption. So they gave them... Okay, I don't really get this, because I'm like...
Me neither.
The power you gave them has very little to do with truth. Truth is just, like, one very... infinitesimally small option of what you could use the hugeness of this power for.
Yeah.
I don't really... If you were like,
it feels like these old wizards were not very good at wizardering.
Maybe.
Because they missed a lot when they made this power.
I'm just confused. First of all, well, you could have made this much better. We could have gotten the truth out of people and not had them lose their entire being. But okay, I'll even accept, like, okay, you have the power to get the truth, and here's this unfortunate side effect. But it seems like I said, the whole power seems to have very little to do with truth and everything to do with control and devotion and a bunch of other things,
love powers
that have nothing to do with truth. So that's a weird origin point. I think it would have been more effective.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, there's going to be some explanation later that will, like, make this feel more cohesive. But I'm feeling like it would have been more logical that, like, for whatever reason they had these powers. And then we were like, you know what's a good thing we could use it for is this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so it's... does this weed out political corruption? Is that how that works?
Kind of. But the rest of it, no. But like, this one
is
part...
death. So it's like, does it?
No, I kept thinking about this, and it kind of makes sense later. Well, so there's, like, this whole thing. So Seeker and Confessors are linked in purpose, and they're opposite ends of the same magic. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I liked that. I do like the element, which we've talked about already in this episode and other episodes, of, like, Richard having the I bring it out power and Kahlan having the I keep it in power. That's cool, the poles of that. And I guess the opposite ends of the same magic is implying it's truth magic. I just don't understand how the suite of Confessor powers have anything to really do with truth. Richard, that kind of... I don't know. He's got anger and truth. She's got control and truth. Oh, she's got love.
And truth. And he has anger and truth.
So he's like...
He has the expulsion for it. Well, his hatred of non-truth. And her love... Of truth. I don't know. No, I don't know.
So
it's relating truth and love, and it's just like.
But it's also relating hate and truth.
It's not hate; it's anger.
Anger.
He doesn't hate the people. He's angry at X, Y, or Z enough to kill them based on his interpretation of the truth. Where she lets the power out and gets the true truth, but at the cost of their life. Richard determines the true truth and then executes based on
hers. So, like, I said, her whole power. Like I said, I don't feel like most of it relates to truth.
Yeah.
But I see how that part. I'm like, that's like really truth, right? Like, you're just like, I touch them and they're going to literally tell me word for word.
Yeah, it's permanent
occurred.
Zone of truth. Yeah.
Where Richard feels very weird because it's so subjective and it's so filtered through his own sense of
now wait a minute
morality. I don't know.
Confessors if they touch you, they can compel you to tell the truth. They can also compel you to say anything that they want, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I suppose if you... It sounds like it requires a vocal, like, demand. So I suppose if everyone's watching and you say, tell me the truth, was this blank?
They can't.
They're not.
Lie.
Yeah, they can't lie.
But what if you coach them beforehand?
Well, I think it seems like when she goes for, like, the criminals and stuff, they're not confessed. It's very obvious they're not confessed. They literally watch her confess and she says the words. And, like, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. But seems like you could potentially mess with the system.
Outside of that system, sure.
Yeah.
But if it is that system, I don't know. It's pretty
cut and dry.
I mean, I guess you could, like, secretly confess them ahead of time.
And say, act totally normal. In fact, you're disgusting towards me. Then I'm going to hit him again with the power. What happens then? I don't know.
Well, I guess she's just pretending. You have to give him so many...
Well, there's also the thunder without sound.
Yeah,
sort of thing,
I don't know.
so.
That seems hard. I'm interested. I wonder if that'll ever be like a
can you
point.
double tap someone with the power? You confess them and then come back 2 hours later and hit them again.
I
Like,
just
can
don't
you
think
do
it
it?
would do anything.
It would just like boom, and then they're just like, "Yo, what's up?" Same.
They say
same clone. Yeah.
Same.
Oh, imagine getting confessed by like 5 confessors at once.
Yo, what could you override another confessor's man? That's what I want to know.
Could Kahlan take final control because she has the strongest confession?
Maybe.
Or is it like whoever's last?
Right.
We'll never know because she's the last one. So
yeah, true. So, basically, back in the day, wizards made confessors because back in the day they were tired of how corrupt all the leaders were. This was Terry's power fantasy.
Yeah.
And they kept accusing their political enemies of doing certain crimes that they did not do in order to have them put to death to get rid of them, basically. And they were sort of like, we need a way to know for sure if these things are true.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make confessors. So it says, wizards picked women, which they chose very carefully because they knew this was going to have lineage elements to it, and gave them truth power.
Yeah.
Which again,
so eugenics. Okay.
I don't understand
how it's truth power, other than the fact that you can make them tell the truth.
But you can make them do anything. You can make them literally do anything.
Walk on your hands the rest of your days.
Oh, I gave them walk on their hands power.
Yeah. You could say that. And be like, well, you could also make them tell the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just so arbitrary. I could say it was anything power, really. By that logic. I am the mother
performer. I make them juggle. Like, you could do whatever you want.
I wanted them to have juggling power. So they could use this power to find out the truth when it was important enough. Mostly now we just confirm a person sentenced to death is guilty. We touch them and make them confess. Which I was always like, okay, that doesn't really make sense to me because you are condemning them to death when they get confessed, right? Like, it does not matter if they're not guilty. That doesn't, like, save them. Now they're confessed. But the actual point of it, because of the whole political thing, is not really to save that person.
But to condemn the person who condemned them.
Yes, correct.
But that seems like a bad power. There got to be a magical way you could do that other than condemning the person who unfairly was charged. Right?
That is a bad power.
But I guess the implication is they were dying anyway.
I think, exactly. It's like they're dying anyway, so at least now we can be like, are you a piece of shit who lied about this?
Yeah.
That's the whole logic of it. So that kind of makes sense to me, or I was like, oh, okay, so like we're not trying to actually save this guy.
And this feels like an important thing, but not the only important thing wizards of this magnitude and power could have been doing. So they did like a genetic modification program, basically, that gives superpowers to a select group of women that they deemed chaste and good enough, I guess, to hold this truth serum power, which then was allowed to run rampant into the future with no shaping or control of that, because they were like, oh, well, once we make it, it's out there. Why didn't you just make an artifact that if someone touched it, it like did this to them? Why'd you make a spreadable gene?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, right? It's like you should have tested it out on a few people without making it genetically
That's what I'm saying.
linked to make sure it works well, and then maybe consider that. But I'm assuming it's complicated and they couldn't do that.
Make a stone that when they put it in their hand, it does the same thing. The confession rock.
So most laws state no one can be put to death without a confession to make sure that people aren't making false accusations.
Yep.
Okay. And like some people, like the mud people, don't use this service.
This service, yeah.
And it's not forced on anybody. Like, you don't have to do that unless they're suspicious that you're being bad over there. I don't know. It seems kind of loose.
It's the right of anyone condemned to death to request a confessor. But not everyone condemned to death has to be confessed. But
it says that it's not forced on anyone unless there is suspicion that they are being deceptive. So that implied to me that it's not forced on anyone unless the confessors are like, we think you guys are being liars.
Correct, yeah. So
like they're not bothering the mud people because they don't think they're doing anything.
No, but if they had reason to believe that they were just killing people that they didn't like.
That's what I'm saying. Then they might come in and do it anyway.
It's such a messy thing.
It's very messy.
Now we're saying the confessors need to know every law of every statehood.
Yes.
And if they're breaking those laws or making things up or lying, they have to infiltrate those countries and figure that out.
Well, it sounds like Kahlan's life is kind of dedicated to knowing that stuff and doing that.
Yeah.
So they actually figured out Darknarl's plan via confessing people because they had some suspicions, I suppose. Yeah, sometimes people who are like condemned to death somewhere where they don't have to be confessed, they have the right to make a confessor come because they're like, if I'm dying anyway, I at least want
to confess my innocence.
To say that I wasn't, so that way my name isn't like, raked through the mud after I die.
Exactly.
Which I get. And then Kahlan says she hates those the most because she cries. And she cries because, like, they're
innocent,
usually innocent.
And she's killing them. And it's sad. And Richard's like, how many times have you confessed people? And she's like, I don't even know.
She said a lot.
A lot.
So, I've heard the worst stories imaginable. And then she talks about the first man she confessed. Naturally...
Yeah.
He's a pedophile.
Big old pedophile.
Because why not?
It's a theme. That's why.
Because why not?
As young as 5 years old.
Yeah, so I don't know. He was like
doing stuff.
We
don't
to
go
the
into it, but
children.
Yeah, we got to do that again. But Terry's obsessed with justice and crime. So like this is a big themes here. So one of the worst crimes is 5-year-old pederism. So here we go.
Yeah, it just feels like I guess like an easy out. You're just kind of like,
no one will defend
shit.
This. Yeah. This guy gets it.
So then he said, what is it you wish my mistress, that's what the pedophile said, and she said, I wish for you to die, and he just dropped dead.
Yep.
Which is kind of like cool to be like, that you could just be like, stop living, and his whole body will just be like, okay, and shut down. Yeah.
Which implies some sort of like inner control over that like
that's probably
she unlocks all your chakras so much that like you can like and just die.
Yeah. So she's talking about that first time, and she says that it scared her wizard when that happened, when she did that. And then Richard's like, you're a wizard? And she's like, yes, we're all assigned a wizard who travels with us and protects us. Which that is very Wheel of Time.
Very Aes Sedai and their whatever they're called.
I can't remember. Warders.
So not a wizard, a warder. Yeah. Serving the exact same function, but these ones have magic.
I see the parallels.
There's another big similarity that comes next, so we'll get there now.
He's like, okay, why do you guys all hate the Confessors here in the Midlands? And she's like, well, the relatives of the executed criminals, they think that we were actually tricking them with our magic to say things they didn't do. I could see why you might think that.
I get thinking that locally, but is that the perception at large? Because then, like...
Isn't that it locally is at large, Like, I don't think wizards think that, but...
Well, here's also the thing. They can do that, so that's not entirely off base.
That's what I'm saying.
The Confessors can force them to say anything.
Right.
So you have to be like, well, they could just, with their evil witch magic, be making him look bad because they're corrupt. There's no reason the Confessors cannot be corrupt, just like there's no reason they can't be jealous. But let's keep going.
Right. She goes on a little rant about people don't want the truth. The truth is of little value to them if it's inconvenient.
Yep.
True. But also maybe they have a valid reason for being suspicious as well. And Richard says that doesn't sound like enough reason.
Did you consider sexism as a reason?
That doesn't seem like a good enough reason. And then she's like, honestly, people just hate a lady they can't put down in this world. They just hate us for being free women. Okay?
Still true.
And yeah, she's like, people resent us. Men resent us because they can't control us. Women resent us because we have a lot more freedom than they do.
They hate us because they ain't us.
They hate us because we have beautiful long hair. They do not.
They're jealous.
Yeah, exactly. They are jealous of me, a beautiful woman, trying to take their man. True, though.
She goes on a long hair rant. I don't care to talk about it. The longer the hair, the more important.
And they all have to cut their hair as a symbol of submission to their man.
And if they don't, they lose some power or something. I don't know who's enforcing this. I don't know why.
It's really interesting because, like, power dynamics, big.
Big dynamics.
Capital big theme. And so it's weird because we're presented with this, like, bad version of, like, we're like, oh, the women have to cut their hair to stay under the man's power and they resent this and blah, blah, blah. But later, we're also going to show at the end of the chapter that Kahlan being under a man's power for her is quite freeing and quite exciting. It's kind of interesting because I think what he's trying to probably say is that sort of thing is subjective. It just depends on the person, your needs, your desire. Both sides have good parts and bad parts. Having the freedom but being really in charge is also very tiring.
Oh, yeah,
but being
for sure.
Incredibly subjugated is also very tiring. So it's kind of interesting to be like, he's showing like, oh, these men are in charge of these women and they're like hating their life. But also, Kahlan needs a little bit of being under a man.
She's always been in charge. And that's tiring. And yeah.
So, just pointing that out. So, so that's why she says they hate her and they hate them. And then she's like, but the thing is, they think we are free, but actually we're the least free. But yeah, it's all just
subjectives and perceptions. And
you're like, who's more free? I don't freaking know.
I'm not making that call.
It all sucks, it seems like. Kinda. There's like shitty parts about all of it.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like this came up in Korra, but I can't really remember what it was.
Also, just a stupid question, but all the women cutting their hair short, is it shorter than their man? Are the men running around with like gorgeous locks in the Midlands?
I don't know.
Or is it like women have like crew cuts? Like what's going on?
I want to know how short.
But like are men like 80s Magneto? Like are we talking like they got the like
they haven't
full...
They haven't specified that the men have long hair.
No, but it's got to be shorter than...
I don't think it has to be shorter.
Than men? It just has to be shorter than their, like, at their station height. Yeah, like, there's a chart.
Yeah, probably.
You got to cut 2 inches off or you're in trouble.
And then Richard says, I think your long hair is pretty, sir. Anyway.
So right now, Queen Milena is chopping off heads of anyone that she wishes.
Yeah.
And that's only because Kahlan's not here. Because if Kahlan was here...
I guess so.
She would be afraid to do that. Because all the Confessors are dead now. These rulers can do whatever the hell they want. And it's so weird that Terry's like, yeah, there's no generational trauma of fear of the Confessors.
Well, I think...
Or is it like a repressed zeal of being able to do whatever the fuck they want?
I think they probably... Yeah, it's like they've been waiting.
Just have someone say that.
I know.
Then. Have Queen Milena be like, oh, I love this power that I have all of a sudden.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been brought up at all.
Of course it would have.
He says, I think your long hair is pretty. Then Kahlan takes this moment to say, also, I gotta choose a mate.
Thank you, FAQ.
And Richard says, a mate? Whatever do you mean? So
like you're some kind of bug?
Explains that she's allowed, all the Confessors are allowed to roam the Midlands. They can find anyone they want. He could be married, does not matter who this man is.
Should just be strong.
And yeah, but they're supposed to be looking for somebody that has good qualities, for offspring.
Yeah. Looking for a real breeder,
she can say, I want that man. And that's...
Yoink.
And so everybody's afraid of this. The men don't want to get picked. Women don't want their husbands, their children, and they don't want anyone they know to get picked. But they do have to do this. So...
This is a rape and kill inversion. Right?
Yeah.
It's giving some women the power to steal men.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of interesting. Like, what would happen? Men would hate that.
Of course you would.
Everyone would kind of hate that, yeah.
He's like, well, what if you care about somebody? What would you do then? And she's like, well, we can't. So we're only friends with other confessors. Men, it's not even a risk because, like, no man is ever
hate us
flirting
anyway.
with us.
Yeah.
They're scared of us. And we are just going to destroy whoever we mate with. And Richard says, why? She says, because in the throes of passion, she will relax her power and kill him. And there's no way to prevent it. So the Confussy is going to take whoever this is out.
That's it. The Confussy unleashed.
Two things. I think it is interesting that, like, Kahlan and Richard never entertain the idea of having a relationship without sex.
No, once that's off the table, they're like,
well, that's the end of that.
Guess our love is dead.
Yeah, like, I was just like, what if you were that in love? You might, I'm not even saying it would work out long term, but wouldn't some part of you just entertain the thought?
Well, no, because Kahlan does have to do this to someone because she is the last confessor.
Maybe that's
so Richard's
why.
like, I can't have a relationship with you and then you mate and kill a man in front of me and have a child with
I don't know.
zombie man, and then I'm kind of raising that kid. Like, I don't know, he's just like, I guess that's it.
I guess that's crazy, but you could, like, you literally could do that.
Don't you ever want a non-sexual throuple with a zombified like stud man and their baby?
Someone does.
Yeah.
So, but also,
yeah.
Here's my thing.
Okay. Yep.
You can get pregnant and get cum. I shouldn't say cum. You can get
nut sauce,
semen.
Is that better?
I don't know, but you can get it inside of you mechanically. That's what I'll say. You don't have to be in the throes of passion in order to get it up there.
Good point.
So I just find it weird.
I don't think they know how babies work, maybe. They don't have electric light.
They know
like,
that
they don't know
have
how
to
bacteria.
Have sex for it.
Yeah, but there's been many theories throughout history how that actually worked.
I guess that's the only explanation I could take, because you can make a guy come and then
scoop it up,
shove it up
in
there.
Yeah,
you could
you're right.
also just sit there like this
and have no fun at all.
And let even people be getting pregnant from the splash method. It's a thing. You just come on the outside and they can sometimes swim up there. I get that they might not want to rely on that. But there are...
You could try it for a year.
You could give it a go. That's all I'm saying, because it is a thing. But okay,
man.
fine. Maybe they don't know about that one. But I do think that if they have any sense that it's the cum getting them pregnant...
Yeah.
They could so very much get cum up there. You could.
Here's another question.
Okay.
Can a confessor confess another confessor?
I would like to know that.
And if not, why don't these girls fuck?
Okay, I thought that too.
There's no homosexuality in this
I was
world.
thinking that too. I was like, there's like no way not one of them was like, you know what, we could at least do it. At least we could do it. There wasn't one lesbian or bisexual.
It wasn't in the FAQ, so I don't know. But Richard didn't ask. Like, can you confess each other?
There's never been a sapphic confessor.
Has to have been.
Make it make sense.
Unless using the power on each other, like, totally goes nuts or something. Like, it goes off.
Well, I'd be curious to know why that's not a thing. But
yeah,
I just think there's a weird framing of sex as if it doesn't exist on a spectrum from like bizarre, like just like I could literally like sit there and just be like, in it goes. Okay. There's this level of like stoicism and like just like mechanical elements you could do that have nothing to do with pleasure, nothing to do with losing yourself, nothing to do with nothing.
I think they're implying though that because like she almost lost it with zero penetration.
Doesn't matter. That's exactly my point. No, that's exactly my point. it wasn't about penetration. It wasn't about any of this. It was about they have sexual energy. I'm saying if you are like, I don't know this man from a fucking rock in the wall. I don't think that's a saying. I don't know this man.
Rocket. Wait, maybe it is.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know this man. I'm not attracted to this man.
Why is that better?
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know him. I'm not attracted to him. We have no chemistry. We've got nothing going on here between us. It's acting like the second something goes in, you're like, oh, I've lost it. I've lost my mind. I'm just loving it.
These two lovebirds are not thinking enough.
It's not about that. It's all confessors throughout all of history.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's my problem.
So then Richard asks about the spirit house. Mm-hmm. His tone colder than he wished it to be, which don't blame him. She cries.
Yeah.
She apologizes. She's like,
that's what Shota was talking about.
Yeah, I did almost kill you. I just wanted to have sex so bad with you, and I was out of control. And honestly, I, in the moment, didn't care. I'm like, that's
hard. That's hard. I get it.
And then she's like, don't you see how dangerous I am? And I was like, you know what? It's honestly kind of, though, like, it kind of reminded me of, like, Twilight or something, where, like, there is a lot of that, like, Edward being like, I almost, like, bit you and lost control and ate you. And then her being kind of like, ooh, I mean, scary, but...
So this is the like, Say It vampire chapter? Is that what's happening right here?
Yeah, it is.
Vampire, yeah.
Right. So she's admitting, like, I almost, like, lost control and just, like, gobbled you up. It's a little different, I think, because, like, I don't know, something about, like, I have, like, this, like, hunger and I need it to survive feels a little bit more like, you're like, I can understand that, how that's difficult.
Yeah.
Versus, like, I just was horny. It's, like, not as convincing.
She had a hunger, and it's difficult to survive. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've never been under Richard in the spirit house, okay? I'm just clearly.
She was on top of Richard in the spirit house.
You've never been on top of Richard in the spirit house, licking
right?
his nipples,
eating apple juice off his chin,
big chiseled chin. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. I haven't been in that scenario.
Yeah.
So, but it did make me think of that. I was like, oh, it's kind of like the girl boss version of Edward Cullen.
Which we desperately needed.
I did.
Thank you, Rich. Well,
I did.
Yeah. So Terry provided this years before Stephanie Meyer. Mm-hmm. So, wonderful.
So, Richard actually kind of feels bad for her.
Yeah.
After this,
he feels crushed for both of them.
Yeah, I guess that I could see how that was difficult for you. But then he's like, Zed was right the whole time when he told me not to go.
Don't get involved with this hussy. It's a dangerous
crazy.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And here we go. So next line on the FAQ. You keep saying girl, she. What happens? You guys don't have male babies?
Okay, well, here's our second Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
copy.
This is the big one.
This one's more
This is egregious now.
Yeah, this one's more the thing. And then the answer to this is gonna be crazy.
We're going off
guys.
the cliff.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So she's like, in the past, we used to have boy babies more. Now, for whatever reason, the way the magic's developed, I guess, we're having more girls.
Literally just convenient so that the guilt factor is diminished.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But sometimes we have boys.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, there have been male confessors.
It's a thing.
They are very, very strong. They have no refractory period.
Which is incorrect, right? Like,
well, that's like a sexual inversion, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's like not really how that works, but like for the confessor magic, it is. So, and then sometimes like they just go insane because the power is just too much. Which this is just exactly the same plot as
the Wheel of Time. Yeah.
And like wizards chose women for this reason, but like didn't foresee that it would be a problem. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense to say they intentionally knew women would control it better and it's a problem in men, but then also were surprised to find out it was a problem in men.
They selected no men for the initial test run for this reason, and then A, didn't shape the magic so that you couldn't have male babies.
And then we're like, oh my God, it's different in men. It's like, well, you knew that because you...
That's got to be in the instruction manual. You can't have male children. You got to get rid of it.
Yeah, I just don't get the claim that they picked women knowing they'd be better at it, and then we're like, oh my god, wait, it's different? It's like, yeah, you knew.
Why don't you just make it either you can't have male babies or the male babies don't get the power? Figure something out in there. You're making truth magic bi-generational or generational.
So at some point, a bunch of male confessors joined together.
They got together.
And
a couple of lads down by the river.
About a reign of cruelty, the Dark Times.
Great name.
On the Midlands. And the wizards eventually took them out. They basically were just going around being horrible, raping women, having the women have the babies and then killing the babies and doing bad things. It's not like...
Did it say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed.
They killed all the children so they wouldn't grow up.
Have any competitors, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. The problem was, and it makes sense, men have less self-control sexually, right? That's the implication here.
I think, well, sexually and perhaps like, you know, in terms of aggression and things of that nature, it's the testosterone. Let's just say that.
So if you have zero refractory time on this power as a man, and any woman you want suddenly becomes a willing sexual thrall,
men will take advantage of that way before women will.
Yeah, and you could just keep taking any woman you ever want.
They're right. They're right.
That's a problem.
I'm not giving men that power. Absolutely not.
No. Problem. Old wizards messed up by doing that.
Yeah.
Because it says it wasn't all men that were evil.
Yeah, for sure.
But some of them, even if you have some of them.
A little group.
That's so dangerous because they can take over kingdoms in 12 minutes. We just illustrated that.
And they did.
Okay.
So she goes on to tell us about how they're handling the babies nowadays. Mm-hmm. Kahlan is crying, telling this story. And it's really bad. I'm going to laugh.
Because we're back to Dark and Rawl being a goofy cartoon villain.
They take the baby boys when they're born to a special place in the center of Idendrill. They have a stone.
They have a stone for this, yeah.
For this. They put the babies on it. And the confessor, it's so ridiculous. The confessor, I wouldn't be laughing if it was just the confessor commands her husband to kill the baby, right?
Yeah,
You'd be like, okay.
Oh, how horrible, but okay. I see the reason. I see the whatever. Okay, no.
He commands
what does she do?
Her husband to place a rod on the baby's throat and step on both ends. Why do they have to kill the baby in this specific way?
What is this factory farm elimination of a child for? You don't have a rock that just burns them up. You don't have a thing that can instantly put them to sleep and they never wake up. Like, you don't have any of those. You can't just...
If you guys could make the truth magic, this magic at all the wizards came together and were like, we need magic for that. You guys couldn't just come up with like baby euthanasia magic?
Exactly. It can't be that hard. Some sort of potion that puts them to just give them morphine. It'll kill them. Like, what are you doing? Why do you have to? Why do you gotta crush their throat?
What are you talking about? I need a good explanation for why you do it that way.
Just to prove it's done? I don't know. I'm like, leave them in the woods. No, but then someone could steal them.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Drowning seems better. I don't know.
Why do they have to... Even stepping on it is weird. Couldn't they just hold it with their hands?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Why are you stepping?
Listen, I don't have a baby, but I've held them. They wouldn't be that hard to kill if you had to. Why do you have a ritualized neck-stepping kill version when you could just use magic or something?
I don't know. That was the weird... Like, I was just like, what are you talking about?
It was like to make it as distasteful as possible.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
People don't just do things to be bad like that.
And it's like, you're telling me, and like all these women, you're telling me these women carried these babies for like eons. And they just were like, this is the best thing we can come up with.
They didn't go to the wizards. Like, the confessors and the wizards couldn't get together and be like, guys, this is emotionally distressing. I understand we got to get rid of the
all the confessors do group up and make them feel better. That was mentioned. But like, no, come on.
No, I'm saying, why would you not be like,
way.
This is so distressing. Can we please come up with a peaceful way to... They would... Here, like, realistically, unless I got to get some fucking good reason why they have to do it this way... The confessors and the wizards would have come up with some like ceremony that's some like beautiful like sending off to the to the earth energy,
greater whatever.
Yeah, like being like, oh, you're going on your journey and have some peaceful way to pass these babies along. And even that, you'd still be like,
rough. But this
really?
This is
but
like
this
the
is
most
just so weird.
And like, I don't know, why are you making the slave man do it? Because it's easier?
Yeah. Because
this feels like a factory farm technique. Like, this is crazy. This is like shooting the cows in the head with the punch thing. And commanding your man to do it. But it's your baby.
Confessor would want to confess the baby. I understand she's going to have bad associations. But, like, at least it would be like, oh, the baby's experiencing...
just bliss.
Blissful love towards its mother. And then you could, like, have it, like...
yeah, why
go to sleep and not wake up.
Correct.
And, like,
that would be ideal.
There'd be some version of that. I don't know. This feels so unintuitive.
Yeah, this was crazy. Terry was crazy for this. This was totally nuts.
People are bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I think human beings do really bad things, but this just doesn't really make sense. Who's benefiting?
Nobody.
Right? Because I'm like, again, the Confessors and the Wizards are the ones running this city. It doesn't seem like any of them are bad, so none of them want it to be bad like this.
Correct.
And you control everyone else involved.
Yeah. Why don't you fix it?
Just change it. Who's keeping it like this?
And that's what I hate, because like Richard hates this, and like we get a little inner monologue of him being like, I fucking hate the Midlands. I'm done with it. But like, what I don't get, there's either one of two paths, right? Like, either they're all complicit and evil, and like nobody thought to improve it in all of time, or it has to be done this way for some reason. We're not going to get that. But like, let's say it did. Richard thinks that he's more clever than all the wizards and all the confessors. Immediately, he's like, this is evil, this is bad, and there's no reason that this has to happen. And he's right, but only due to like a dumb choice. This should not exist in this form.
I don't know if, like, I don't know. I think Richard makes sense. If you want me to believe that this is truly what's going on and there's no real reason for it, then yeah, Richard is being totally reasonable.
Of course, that's why it's stupid to write that this is what happens.
Right. Well, I don't like, it's like the author being like, I need Richard to be so smart and morally superior that they're just doing dumb ass shit all the time and no one realizes.
Because of tradition. It's like, no, they wouldn't do that.
People keep traditions that...
There's traditions of sacrifice. There's traditions of like killing a goat for like the sins of the crops or whatever. I don't know.
Traditions like that, they genuinely believe that there is a bad outcome if they don't do it that way. So if you told me, you were like, if we don't do the pole method, the baby ghosts come back and
yeah. No, yeah, if you were like, there's no other method that works.
Sure.
These babies are like invulnerable to damage but like the special rock and the special rod.
You could leave it more nebulous morally, where you could be like, I think if we don't do that, some, like woo-woo, like bad juju will come for me. Where you're kind of like, is that true? Is that a good enough reason to keep doing it? But you're like, but they have the belief. So I see why they keep doing it.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
I'm waiting for more, and I don't think we're going to get it.
Bad traditions like that maintain because someone's benefiting or they genuinely have a belief that it has to be done that way. Or you're bad people and you like it.
And it's not that one for this. Yeah, no, I really can't come up with why.
So I need to know who's benefiting and or what is the belief system
between doing it that way.
That like Zed's leads them to have to do it that way.
Because Zed has watched over this for years now. He's the great old one, right? Yeah. So he was in the Midlands being like, they're stepping on another baby's throat on the rock again. And just going, there's no other way.
Who's in charge of this?
He was, as far as I know.
I need to go talk to them.
Well...
So, Richard is so done. He's fucking done with the Midlands. He's like, I hate the Midlands. The only thing I hate more than the Midlands is Dark and Brawl right now. Otherwise, Midlands' second worst thing ever to exist. He's like, no fucking kidding that the Westlands people were like, bye, and left and put up the boundary. They were right to do it. I just want to go home away from the baby pole killers. And he's like, he vows to ask Zed to put the boundary back up when Darkenrall's dead.
And then I'm snapping the sword.
He's like, I'm not giving the sword back, I'm destroying it. And then he's also like, I understand why Zed left. And he's like, I love my man for leaving this hellscape.
No!
No.
So I understand the office of the Seeker has been corrupted in the past 40 years, let's say, right? Mm. But there were how many true Seekers before Richard going all the way back, and none of them thought to change this practice?
I don't know.
Come on! Where's the logic?
Oh, I need
Is
more.
Richard the only smart
Help
one
me.
who was like, wait, stepping on a baby's throat?
Unappealing.
I don't know if you guys realize this. I know you've been doing it this way, but you could kill them in many ways.
You could.
Or maybe just don't kill them and raise them well.
Okay. That's risky. I get the argument. We could go there. We could entertain this idea. But I'm like, I get if you're like, no, like we like just can't, they can't handle
Maybe
it.
they tried it throughout history. Like, yeah, we tried to raise them well. We tried to do it, and every time.
Pass them on peacefully. That's all.
There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. So he's done.
Yeah, and so then he's like, thanks for telling me all of that, Kahlan. I definitely wouldn't have wanted to hear it from anybody else.
Yeah, which is, true. Rough. Yeah.
He had imagined that stopping Rawl would be the beginning of his life, where anything was possible. But now he feels once he kills Darkenrawl, everything after feels dead to him.
That's it. Yeah, like he's living to do that.
He's going through his like Orpheus moment. I don't know if this is true of Orpheus, the real myth. This is true of Orpheus in
Hadestown.
In the Broadway musical Hadestown, in which he loses his innocence, finds out that the world is kind of bad, and then he's like, I don't fucking like anything anymore. Yeah.
And now he's wandering the earth like soulless, which is kind of...
That's what made me think of when he said it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said,
I mean, that's pretty true to the myth, yeah.
I don't know enough about the myth.
It's more so just literally the loss of his love made him feel so empty that he just was a wandering shell of himself, which is what Richard is saying. Too. Yeah, so this is Orphetic.
I see it.
There you go. So he's dying inside.
Yeah, it literally says that.
Yep.
She says she understands if he wants her to leave and not come along anymore. And then he's like, is there any way we could be together? And she's like, no. And they're crying. And again, this was the moment where I was like, can't you guys just not have sex? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's what friends are.
Listen, I'm not saying I would be happy with it, but I think I might give it a go for my true love.
Yeah.
Right?
I would think. But,
I mean,
but
for
she's
Kahlan,
saying,
it's nothing.
I don't want to open my heart up enough to love you because we can't go all the way, which is weird. But that's where she's at right now.
Why can't they just be like life companions?
Well, that's kind of what they come to in the end.
But you can be romantic life companions, not platonic life companions. Like, you can be romantically...
You're right.
I don't think romance and sex, they are linked, but they also can exist distinct from one another.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just platonic or romantic sex, the combo. Like, I'm like, it could be platonic, it could be romantic, or it could be sexual, or it could be all... Well, it can't be... 2 or 3. The 2. Well, it can't be platonic and romantic, but...
No, those are juxtaposed. Yeah.
So you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Definitely. There's a path for them, and maybe that would be part of Richard's journey there.
It would have been interesting to see them try and fail, right?
Yeah, or just even try at all. Watching it would have been...
They're like, we can't fuck, it's over.
It's over.
So... He's like, are we allowed to be friends? She's like, yeah. And then they hug. And he's like, I could really use a friend right now. Which, has he used that line before?
One of them has.
Yeah, they've said this before.
Yeah.
And she's like, we can't be anything more. And then he says,
but Kahlan,
I love
you.
I literally thought that. I don't know why.
What?
No, the Phantom line.
Yeah, I know.
I love you. She says, don't say that. Please, Richard, don't ever say that. And then he's like, have you picked your mate out? She says no, but she's going to have to after the Darkenrawl stuff is done. These two are like actually very optimistic. They're like planning so much of their life after this.
So many times previously when they've been like, we're not even going to make it. We're not making it till winter. He's definitely going to win. Like, this is so uphill. And they're like, I'm definitely picking a maid after we win this one. It's like, what?
I don't know.
You're not even.
I kind of get, you're like, we probably won't, but in case we do, here's probably what's going to go down.
You're still not getting any, Richard. That's what.
Well, yeah. Okay. A couple of things happen here.
Yep.
Okay. He says, make one promise for me if I can. Promise me you won't pick your mate until I'm back in Westlands. I don't want to know who it is. I promise. I do think it's weird. It feels like they're giving her mate the same weight as like her picking or having like a real relationship. And I'm like, she's literally just going to like breed a zombie man. Not saying you have to like that like be like, I'm sticking around for it. But I am also like, it's not like she's really having a relationship. If you have compassion
for her situation, which is terrible weight that she can't take off like you can, like what you just fantasized about doing, then you have to accept that that's part of the weight. It's not fun for her. She's not like, woohoo, I can't wait to mate this fucking brain dead man.
Like, I'm just like, you're acting like
that's
she's
not
gonna
her
go
boy. She's not having another boyfriend that she's taking to prom.
Sounds like what you would say in a scenario where you're like, oh, she's the princess and she's going to be in an arranged marriage.
Correct, yeah.
And she's going to be like forced off with this man who she doesn't really love, but it is in fact a real partnership. I'm like, this is just some weirdo thing. It's like being like, don't tell me about that sex doll you're going to buy. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything.
It's a sex doll that you have to buy for work. That's what this sounds like.
And have sex with one time.
At least one time, yeah.
Maybe she'll have to keep doing it because
she will have to
repopulate the Confessors.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it is literally just the same as like he's literally just a cum machine. You know, like it means nothing.
Where do I fill out the application to be the Confessor's cum machine? Oh, here. I found it. Send. All right.
I don't know. I'm just like, dude, the whole thing's fucking weird. Don't get me wrong. But also you can't be like, I'm so jealous. Jealous of what?
What are you jealous of?
You're jealous of the fact that she's going to take away all of his personality and freedom, and that she's going to literally like loathe his presence in her life and use him as like a cum ATM. I don't know. Are you really jealous?
For someone who was worried about saying cum, you have said cum.
Well, once you break the seal, what does it matter? What does it matter?
Just say. Just bringing it up.
I'm over it now.
Yeah, the cum count is
unfortunately,
we're gonna have to put like
is becoming
47 times you've said cum.
Is a really important like plot element.
You say
here.
Unfortunately,
yeah. So I have to talk about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, cum is a theme within those works.
It's coming up. It's coming up as a very important aspect of the plot. So it is what it is. Okay. So then he says.
Then we get this little thing. Yeah. Give it to us.
You're wrong about one thing.
Like what?
And what would that be? You said no man can command a confessor. You are wrong. I command the mother confessor herself. You are sworn to protect me. I hold you to your duty as my guide. So then Richard is literally like, I'm your dom now.
Yeah.
You said no man.
In the last vestiges of humor that he has left, he decides to make a I'm the captain now, I'm doming you joke.
This is a little horny, right?
Oh, it's definitely horny. And
then she laughs, says, it appears you're right. Congratulations. You are the first man to ever have done so. And what does my master command of his guide? And then he's like, I command that you stop trying to kill yourself. Which, like,
that you don't unalive and help me get this box, bitch.
Yeah, he's like, you can help me do the thing we need to do. And then she says, by your command, my lord.
So he's making the jokes just to make her feel better, despite him feeling terrible. But she's like, they're legitimately cheering me up a little bit. Sure. I like this little sexy banter, even though we can't fucking, apparently we can't have a relationship now.
I wasn't questioning that.
All right, well.
I wasn't questioning that. I understand why she's laughing. Yeah, I did think it was interesting. We are like, oh, look, for her being under a man in this way, it feels very freeing to her.
Yes.
And relaxing. But to somebody else, it does not.
It probably really depends on the man and the situation and the woman.
Yes.
So when you're a woman under an unfair man or a cruel man, you hate that. When you're a woman that is forced to command your whole
time.
life.
And then hot, sexy man comes along and he's like, I got you. Just relax your little brain. You're like, sure.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Will do.
So,
But then, so Richard right now, oh my God, Richard is getting burnt out, right? He says, so he's doing this for her. It's very sweet of him because she's loving it. He says he's giving her a forced smile and he's actually dying inside, sort of like taking charge of her in this way, which is what she did need in the moment. And he wishes he were alone and could cry. So now who's burdened by having the power? Mr. Richard.
of course.
But guess what's going to happen to Mr. Richard? The second these people feel a little put out by being the dominant one, someone comes along and says, don't worry.
I'm going to
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. That's kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
Come on, you can't tell me there's not like a little like domino power dynamic.
Of course. So
here.
Kahlan, always on top, always from a young age forced to be in control, finally getting to relax with someone that she was sworn to but is trusting of. That feels really good for her. He now feels really burdened by that because of the inability to actually have a sexual relationship, whatever. Now his power is going to get taken, which is a different relinquish. It's a forced relinquishing of power.
Yeah.
That's going to have a different feel. He's not going to like that either.
Right, because Kahlan is quite willingly going with
Correct.
Richard.
Richard was forced to be the dom, and now he's going to be forced to be the sub.
Well, is Richard being... Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so, like, we are saying Kahlan is not being forced to be the submissive here, right? She's, like, happy to do it.
And she, like, sort of is, but she's...
She seems happy.
Because of duty. No, I'm not saying no one's forcing her. Duty kind of forced her, but she's happy to do it because she never gets to play this role.
That's what I'm saying. So, okay, Richard, is he being forced to be the dominant here? He's kind of, like, unwillingly deciding to take it on, in a way.
He kind of has to.
Because he knows it's going to get her through the thing.
Her and the rest of the world, potentially.
Sure.
If he doesn't
That's
step
what I'm
up.
saying.
Yeah.
But, like, it's different than it being forced, right? Like, he has some agency over the decision.
He could quit right now, but then the world ends. So I guess there's
It's not about quitting. I'm saying he could try and find another way to work with her that's not him taking this role on in this way.
True.
I don't know. Maybe not, but maybe. Like, and then his submission that's going to come is very forced. Like, he's got no say in it at all. And that's going to be similar to, like, the women we were talking about with the husbands and the short hair. Like, their submission is incredibly forced.
And not desired. Yeah, that is interesting.
So it's kind of intriguing. But it is kind of weird because you're like, it clearly does keep happening because then the Mord Sith and Richard are going to have their little turnaround where they're going to get to be in the Kahlan role where they were. But I'm like, so it does seem that Richard keeps coming out on top. But I feel that in the series we're probably just going to keep tumbling.
We will tumble. Of course, it'll be like Richard falls in a pit of vipers and they take over his brain for a little bit. Now he has to crawl on his belly or something. Something dumb like that. It happens over and over. It happens with Gang. It happens with the Sisters of the Night or whatever. It's going to happen over and over with someone's shackled and someone's chained and someone's pretending to be a sub until they blah, blah, blah. Yes, power dynamics throughout the entire fucking thing. And also in the Wheel of Time. But also probably in a lot of fantasy series because it's an interesting thing you could do over a long series of events. And you can, it's fun to, it's like comic books, you do the same thing. Oh, Wolverine's the strongest and now he's weak. And now you can do that over and over again. But Richard, I think this journey that Richard's on is consistently playing with him. And he says it, he feels like a pawn. Other people are moving him around. When Richard chooses to be the top for himself at the end, when he takes off the shackles and says, actually, I am responsible for my own actions. I live my own life, rise up and live it, that kind of thing. He will become the top he was always supposed to be.
But
arbiter
are
of
all
truth.
the girls also going to do that?
Who?
the Mordsith, Kahlan, like, are we all doing that? Is that everyone's end?
I don't know. It's definitely Richard's
Like,
end.
I'm
I don't
just
know
saying.
how much care we give to everyone else, but it will be Richard's end of,
It has to be.
journeying to the place where he feels like a dominant man in control of his anger and able to make these decisions, these
Right.
pointed, truthful decisions. That is what the Seeker will become.
Right.
But for now, he is an unwilling top.
He's a little upset about it,
And
but
he's getting that top fatigue.
it's nice of him to do it for her right now.
It's very
nice.
sweet of him. I agree.
And well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's getting a little ego boost from hearing that he's the only man ever to be like,
Oh yeah, he said it because it was kind of fun to say. I think,
right.
You know.
And it's like, I guess that's gonna happen with the Mordsith too. Richard just keeps doing that.
Yeah, and finding out that queens bow to her and now she's listening to you is kind of be like,
Come on.
oh,
You get a little thrill.
you get a little thrill.
But yeah, that's so we end on he wished he were alone so he could cry.
Yeah,
And that is the chapter. This was so long.
it's so long. Do we have any notes at the end, or should we end just shy of 3 hours? Yeah,
I think we just gotta end. I'm not doing a shout out. I mean, I think the fan mails, I'm shouting out.
keep sending fan mails.
I'm shouting out the cow farmer in New
Please.
Zealand. I'm
Thank you,
shouting
John.
you should name.
We call him John. Yeah.
I'm shouting out John. I'm shouting out Mr. Svenny, and I'm shouting out Mr. Svenny's friend, who I don't think said his name.
No, he didn't. I don't think.
Him too. And this was by far the longest episode we've
You're
ever done.
welcome.
It was in fact one chapter. What can we do?
What can we do? Listen, we had to go through the FAQ. We had to dump it on you, and here we are. Come. Thank you for coming
Thank
for
you for
one whole
coming.
year.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks for coming for a year.
Thank you for coming for a year. And make sure you come before you come again. Next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks, right?
See you guys later. Oh, wait.